The August 20th, 2026 hearing for the Planning and Land Development Regulation Commission is now called to order. And if I could please have everyone silence any audible devices that you may have. And if you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I would like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. And Ms. Brown, could I please have a roll call?
Good morning. Member Arison? For the record, Member Arison is here. Member Craig?
Here.
Member Shelley?
Here.
Member Costa?
Here.
Member Bush?
Here.
Member Sixma?
Here.
And Chair Mills?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Brown. We do not have any minutes to discuss this morning, so if anyone would like to speak for or against the cases being heard today, if you could please fill out a form at the back of the dais and hand it to Ms. Brown to my immediate left. We will be limiting you to a 3-minute time limit. After the comments have been heard, I will give the applicant an opportunity to address any concerns the speakers have and answer any questions the commissioners would have. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Soria for legal comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is for members of the public and applicants, that decisions by this body on cases which rezone real property from one classification to another pursuant to the zoning ordinance are recommendations only to the county council and do not constitute a final hearing. New evidence may be introduced at the county council public hearing. Decisions on variances and special exceptions made by this body constitute final action, subject to an appeal to the county council. And what that means is that no new evidence may be presented at the time of the county council public hearing on the appeal. An aggrieved party that appeals such a decision is confined to the record made before this body. Hearings by this body on rezonings, special exceptions, and variances are quasi-judicial in nature, meaning that this body is acting more like a court and must take into account all oral, written, or demonstrative evidence presented. Their decisions on these cases must be based on competent substantial evidence in the record, and competent substantial evidence has been defined as that evidence a reasonable mind would accept to support a conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Soria. And while on legal comments, I'd like to ask the commission to disclose for the record any ex parte communications that have occurred before or during the public hearing at which a vote is to be taken on any quasi-judicial matter. And I'll start with my immediate right with Mr. Urson.
None.
I have none.
None.
Previously, on V26073, I spoke to the applicant, and recently I spoke with applicant for CPA 26085.
I have none.
None.
And I have none. Okay. We do have a few items to be either continued or withdrawn. We'll start with the ordinance 026016. You wanted this, whose is this anyway? Mr. Shams, you wanted to tell us about that one?
So this ordinance needs a little bit more time to work on based on county council direction. So we're going to work with legal, and we'll come back with it when we're ready.
Okay.
And the variance.
Are we going to withdraw it or continue it? Is that?
It's completely withdrawn.
Withdraw, okay. All right.
Which case number is that?
It's 026016.
16, okay.
Yeah, we don't have to
All right.
have a vote on that. It's being withdrawn. And the other case is B26043. And Ms. Tucker, you want to explain that, please?
Yes, hi, good morning. For the record, Kelly Tucker, Planner 1. The applicants requested a continuance to the September 17th meeting. They just don't feel prepared. They've been out of the country, and they want to make sure that they have done their due diligence from the previous continuation of this board to be prepared to answer any questions.
Okay, Ms. Tucker. All right, I will entertain. Do we have any public participation forms for this case? Do you know?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, but my motion will be to move it to the October 15th meeting as opposed to the September meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. I've got a motion on the floor to move it to the October
15.
15th meeting
15.
from Mr. Costa and a second from Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we do have some unfinished old business, so Ms. Shelley, could I get you to read the first case?
Excuse me, Chair Mills, if you can talk a little closer into the microphone, they're having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay. Okay, I said we do have some unfinished old business, and Ms. Shelley, could I get the first case, please, which would be V26060?
Yes, sir. Case number V26-060, application of Michael,
Watuniak.
thank you, Engineered Permits, Inc., agent for owners requesting a variance to the minimum yard requirements on rural mobile.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And this one is Ms. Tucker's. And by the way, Mr. Costa is recused himself from this case, so let it be known as that. Okay, Ms. Tucker?
Thank you. Again, for the record, Kelly Tucker, Planner 1. This case was previously heard at the June 18th, 2026 PLDRC meeting and was continued. The applicant is requesting a variance to develop a pole barn on MH3 Rural Mobile Home Zone property. The subject parcel is part of the Surrey Homes unrecorded subdivision and was deemed vested and eligible for building permits on April 8th, 1982. The property was purchased in November 2006 by the current owner and was developed with a residence that was close to the proposed location of the pole barn. A new 2,020 square foot residence was constructed in 2021. The subject parcel is mostly located within Flood Zone A, with a small area located in Flood Zone X that the applicant is asking to develop the pole barn in this area. This would result in a variance to reduce the west side yard from 25 feet to 18 feet. While the owners have an active agricultural exemption on the property, and the building is going to be used in association to the agricultural use, the applicant stated that they wish to continue forward with the variance request in case the property is sold in the future or the agricultural exemption is no longer in use. Due to this request, staff analyzed the request as if the property did not have an agricultural exemption and would require full permitting and compliance with the Land Development Code. Environmental Permitting did review the variance request and did not have any objections. Staff does recommend approval as the variances meet 3 of the 5 criteria. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Is the applicant present?
Good morning, it's Michael Watuniak with Engineered Permits, Inc., 311 South Woodland Boulevard. Apologize, my name, it's always throws everybody off when they look at that J. We're just trying to assist Mr. Costa in putting up a pole barn so we can supplement his agricultural exemption. The property, it's got very unique in nature because it's mostly in the flood zone, and this is the location where the previous mobile home that was residing on the property is located, and it is in the flood zone X, so outside of the flood. It is constrained between the existing septic system and then somewhere the power comes into the property, and this is an ideal location for it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Do we have any public participation forms for this case? Okay, we'll close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion or a motion.
I'll
Bobby
make a
Clark.
motion. I'll make a,
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
okay, case V26060. I'll make a motion for approval with what, the 2 stipulations from staff?
Second.
Okay. I've got a motion on the floor for Mr. Sixma to approve V26060 with the 2 staff conditions, and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? I've got Ms. Bush. It said coming up Troy Kent here.
Oh, pretty sure I'm not Troy Kent. I stated this last time this case came before us, so I feel obligated to say it again. I do not agree with staff's assessment that a flood zone is a special condition or circumstance that exists, which is peculiar to the land and is not applicable to other lands in the same zoning district. So that is criteria 1, and staff found that this criteria was met, but it doesn't This doesn't prove to me that it is. This is a mobile home MH3 zoning district. Map indicates as such. The surrounding neighbors have the same zoning district. They are also flooded, just like this property. So I, again, do not agree with that assessment. The last thing, I do not agree with staff's justification that the special condition or circumstance is not a result of the actions of the applicant. He chose to make the pole barn 2,400 square feet. He could make it smaller. He could make it fit to the setbacks that are set in place on this property. And he wishes to not abide by that, so he's asking for this variance. So I don't agree with staff's justification. I'm not necessarily saying that the variance isn't worthy of an approval. I just don't think the justification is there, and I don't agree with staff's reasoning for them providing that recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bush. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion
Or aye.
carries 5-1. Okay. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-26-075, variances to the minimum yard and accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R9 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Costa, this one's yours.
Yes, we seem to have skipped one.
Which one?
73,
Yes.
B26073.
73? I don't have a 73.
I have it.
One from Mr. Posey?
No, I don't have it.
Yes, for Mr. Posey.
It wasn't in my packet, I don't think.
That's not in the...
Okay, I just don't have it. Does any other board members have that?
Right, I know it's there, but it's
I have
not
it.
here.
Okay, all right.
I don't have it in my
It's a
packet.
continuation from last month, so we did hear the presentation, so I don't really need one myself. Do you need one, Ms. Shelley?
I might. I'm not here and I don't have it in my
Okay.
packet, so I think I would.
Go ahead with your comments.
Good morning.
Okay, wait a minute, we need to read that one into the record. 073. Come, read it right off your...
073? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got
mhm,
that,
yeah.
okay. Application of Joseph Posey Esquire, case number V-26-073. Where's the explanation?
Let me see.
Thank
We'll get
you.
it for you in a minute.
A variance to the accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R3 zoned property.
Okay. And
I don't,
is this one yours, Ms. Costa?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the rear yard setback for an existing 1,200 square foot garage from 20 feet to 11 feet. The variance is associated with a 60-foot lot line adjustment between two properties under common ownership. The existing garage was constructed in 2019 with the setback requirements applicable to a corner lot. Now with the lot line adjustment, it is now changing the setback from 8 feet to 20 feet to be applicable for a interior lot. The staff has determined that the proposed nonconformity would be created solely by the applicant's proposed lot line adjustment between the two properties. There are no unique conditions to this. Staff finds that criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4 were not met and recommended denial. However, if you do decide to approve it, we do have some conditions.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Costa. Any questions for staff? Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. With the lot line shifting, how are you going to deal with the fence that's going to be the because the fence is coming from one property and now it's expanding on another, so are you going to deal with that with this as well?
It's not the fence. The fence runs along the property lines. It's the, there's a covered walkway which we've made a condition that they have to remove that covered walkway between the two properties.
I swore that there was a fence that continued from the front of the one-story masonry residence on one side into the other. That was shown on the site plan, but if you say that it doesn't exist, I'll believe you.
Any other questions? Okay, is the applicant present? Good morning, Mr. Posey. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Of course, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. And I think I'm just waiting for my presentation to pop up here somewhere. I'll fill the awkward silence with me talking and... Okay, we're good? Okay, perfect. I really, I appreciate Laura's work and everything, and we do have a tandem application moving for a lot split that's been vetted by staff. It's been submitted. Fees have been paid. We're waiting for outcome of this, which contingent on what that outcome happens. It's either that lot split would be going to effect and approved, or the variance would, as Laura had mentioned, would just fail by implication. But a few things I really want to dive into a little bit of the specifics just to give some color and some nature to this. I obviously appreciate staff's work on this. I do have a disagreement as to some of the positions for the conditions or how the criteria have been met, but reasonable minds can differ. I understand that. So, it's an existing structure. It went through permitting. It got staff. It went through. It's a valid permitted structure. It's not. There's no request to expand anything. It's an existing condition out there. And if you drove by it today and after the outcome of whatever happens here, it's going to be the same condition after this decision. So, nothing's changing from that respect, and it's the same neighborhood, same homes. And I think that's part of what makes this variance a little bit unique in that, you have a existing valid condition that has the appropriate permitting, and really by implication of how the code reads the corner versus the interior, you're getting this weird rub with, how do we address this, and but with nothing changing in the ground. A little history: the owner actually acquired the property through his mother. He didn't build the homes. He didn't build where these existing structures are, except for the garage. The garage is something that he had wanted to pursue 10 years ago, and at the time had somebody pull a permit, comply by the rules. There was a little bit of a rub in terms of code compliance, but that worked itself out, and he, took responsibility for it. But it was something that he worked with the contractor, and had he had the foresight to know that, there's going to be this implication later of this 8 to 9 foot distinction between what a rear yard would be determined on the interior versus the corner lot, then I'm sure this would have been a different situation, but that was 10 years ago. And, looking at it in hindsight, obviously you can, that's easy to point out, and it's easy to nitpick that, that decision could have been made 10 years ago. The other thing that's interesting about this lot is it's in an R3 zoning, and these are some of the few lots that are 100 by 100. Most of the lots in this block are 100 by 200, so there's much more depth for accessory structures and other structures like this. And you can just see from the neighborhood that most of the structures that like a covered vehicle storage is in the rear of the yard. It's behind the footprint of the house, but that's impossible to do given where the house is, given the shortened depth of the lot. And I think this is actually a better situation because you're shrinking the impervious coverage for an already existing lot, even though you're borrowing it from that corner lot. But again, the applicant isn't looking to do anything in addition, or if the conditions of the variance move forward in that regard, this is the condition he wants, and he understands that this is as far as he wants to take it. That we're happy to condition it in that regard too, with regard to impervious coverage. And this makes a much more functional pattern because it adds more what would be the hypothetical depth of the lot. It's just functionally the width instead of the actual depth. The other interesting thing is you probably could subdivide this into 3 separate lots and meet minimum standards of code. And if I had a magic wand and can relay these out, I could probably get 3 houses with 3 accessory structures with 3 buildings and a much more impactful lot layout and impervious layout to the functionally what that land could be made up of. And it's really just the implication of this setback that's creating the rub between where this structure is and how to accomplish the goal. And that's all we're asking. It's really to address that technical part of the code that's speaking to these corner lots. From our perspective, that's a unique circumstance. That's not something you just look at just quickly glancing at the pattern of the neighborhood. They're much more deep lots. You can see the accessory structures sit behind the houses and where their structures sit. And there's not many corner lots that have such large width that there's an opportunity to, since he has common ownership, to grab and kind of fix this to make a more conforming lot and also have a accessory structure that's commonly enjoyed by other folks in this neighborhood. I touched on that. I mentioned that this is in conjunction with a lot reconfiguration, so the representation of what he's trying to do has been very clear, and he's not trying to change the rules at the end here. This was 10 years ago. The special conditions that I think I wanted to point out in addition to that, I can't change the historical pattern of what was built out there, nor did the applicant have any involvement in that. All we're really asking for is something that would otherwise be available to other lot owners, and there's just not depth, given the existing location of the house, to do this type of structure, even though other lots in the neighborhood can benefit from that kind of development pattern. That's, in my mind, a special circumstance that didn't result from the applicant. The literal interpretation of this, I think, is part of where I do feel for him in some respects, that you can't otherwise accomplish what I think is something that's beneficial in creating a lot layout that makes more sense, and it's not so tight on that interior lot. And that would just be an extreme hardship, given that there's a practical public benefit of creating a more conforming lot that is aligned with the neighborhood, that can enjoy the same accessory structures. It just so happens that that structure has to be in what would be functionally a side yard with a constrained rear yard versus being solely in the rear yard. And that, in my mind, denying that is saying that that's not consistent with the neighborhood when it obviously isn't, just given the development pattern. The other parts, I do appreciate staff, but to say that it isn't the minimum variance necessary, I think if you took that literally, that means that every variance wouldn't be possible. If the way to accomplish this, to create that pattern, to not create a hardship by impacting that existing structure that had valid permitting, is to move the line exactly where we put it, because you're creating a much more functional layout that is a more conforming lot division versus what already exists today with this very big, deep corner lot with these strange implications because of setbacks. And I think that's exactly why you have a variance process, to these little technical issues of the code and how to address them. We agree with staff on the last one. And really, from our perspective, these all meet five criteria in the applicant's opinion. There's unique circumstances. It's historical configuration of adjoining R3 parcels. It's a legally permitted structure. We didn't create the underlying circumstances with the subdivision pattern of parcel configuration. Obviously, the applicant constructed the garage, but I don't think he had a crystal ball 10 years ago and knew exactly what the implications of that construction would be. And really, the outcome is a little bit draconian, because you're punishing somebody for, in my mind, swapping where a line is on a piece of paper in some respects, but also I think, with an outcome that's better. You're getting 2 lots that are larger collectively, that are more in line with the neighborhood, and that's a better outcome than leaving the garage where it is. And other than that, we have no objection to staff's conditions. the applicant has no plans in the future for any future subdivision. He has no plans for another structure. So if those conditions are something that is more palatable for this board, we're happy to add those to it. And I'm available for questions. And if there's any way that we can try to get to a place where, we all walk out there tomorrow and it's the same thing except the lot line's here instead of here, that's our goal. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Posey. Mr. Costa, you had a question?
Yes, good morning. The garage, was that built by the current owner?
Yes,
How long ago?
10 years ago.
Was it permitted?
Well, yes, he had engaged a local contractor out of DeLand, and he handled the permitting. Come to find out, the permits weren't pulled initially, which put him through a code compliance ringer for quite a while, and he had no problem with that. He got the appropriate permits pulled. He even had to pay a $10,000 fine, which he took responsibility for. So, but in terms of outcome, it's a validly permitted structure. It's where it should be.
How long ago did that occur? The permitting part, roughly?
That was roughly 7 or 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
So the garage is 10 years old, so the permit caught up to him about 2 years later?
Just
and
about.
It's been taken care of since?
That's correct.
So it's, okay, that's what I need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Do we have any public participation forms for this case?
No, we do not.
Thank you, Mr. Posey. We're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion. Case V-26-073, a motion to approve the variance with the 3 staff recommended conditions.
I've got a motion on the floor for Mr. Costa to approve variance V-26073 with the 3 staff conditions, and a second for Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. I did go back and find there is a 6-foot, 5-foot, 6-foot vinyl fence that is going to now cross over both properties with the subdivision. So I would like either a condition added to the variance if that's taken care of, or that just needs to be taken care of.
And
Because
whichever's more comfortable for the board, we'll address it. If it's not following the new property line, or if it's not conforming to the lot, then yes, of course, we're happy to address it.
Yeah, it's a 5-foot vinyl fence coming from parcel 1, now onto parcel 2, going essentially, looks like behind or connecting to that metal garage. So again, if you're changing lot lines, just
Yeah.
make sure that your fencing is appropriate. On that note, I do have just one comment. Looking at the lot configuration throughout the neighborhood, I know this is not on the variance today, but it has something to do with the variance request, right? The rest of the properties that are along those roads don't follow what you're asking to move for the lot line, right? You're trying to adjust that to meet this gentleman's issue and not necessarily meeting the rest of the context of the community. So I am not in agreement on that standard. I understand your presentation and your arguments, but I don't agree, right? I think staff did a great job of understanding and presenting the facts before us, and that the fact is that, you are asking for something for relief for an individual that, is this hardship is on his own, right? So I'll leave my comment there. Thank you.
Okay, that's a comment on the motion. Do you wish to?
Do you want to add?
Lean to staff. Stephen, if you have a suggestion of language to add, that would
Does it
clean
need to
up
be
the.
added, Mr. Soria?
Yeah, I don't even know if it needs to be.
So because this is related to a future lot line adjustment, which is not going before you, you can condition that, as part of the variance, any resulting lot line adjustment will require that fence lines meet the new property line.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay, that would be the extra condition, the 4th condition then. Just use his words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion has been amended. Ms. Shelley, you go along with that?
Amend the second.
Okay. Motion has been amended to add the additional condition of the fence, this specifically stated by Mr. Soria. And so any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-26-075. Variances to the minimum yard and accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R9 zoned property.
Ms. Costa, this one's yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Applicant is requesting 4 variances associated with an under-construction single-family residence and a proposed in-ground swimming pool on an oceanfront property. Variance 1 would reduce the front yard from 25 to 5 feet for the residence. Variance 2 would reduce the south side yard from 7 feet to 3 feet. Variance 3 would allow an accessory structure within the atypical waterfront yard. And variance 4 would reduce the required atypical waterfront yard for the proposed in-ground pool to 3 feet. This is approximately a 7,800 square foot oceanfront property on South Atlantic Avenue in New Smyrna Beach. The lot is a non-conforming atypical lot measuring 50 feet in width. The previous residence was constructed in 1987 and was destroyed by fire in July of '22. A replacement residence is currently under construction and received variances under variance case V24-011 for waterfront and side yard reductions with the associated reconstruction of the residence. Variances 1 and 2. Variance 2 is to correct one of the side yard setbacks from the original variance, and variance 1 is for the front stairs, which were missed on that first the 2024 variance. Variances 3 and 4 are for the in-ground swimming pool, which would be an accessory improvement. The home previously did not have a pool. The proposed pool is 25 feet by 12 feet and would be approximately 3 feet from the home and 3 feet from the Coquina Rock revetment at the rear of the home. Staff has determined that possibly, if they cannot get the pool, they could put a portable spa there with no variances required. Staff has identified some potential environmental cases as well, with it being located in the Indian River Lagoon Surface Water Improvement and Management Overlay Zone. Staff finds that 4 out of the 5 criteria are not met for the pool. However, all 5 criteria have been met for the home. We are recommending that conditions for variances 1 and 2, and we do have conditions for variances 3 and 4 for your perusal as well. I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Ms. Costa, how deep is this pool?
How deep is the pool? I am not certain.
Okay, during the permitting of the pool, from my understanding, normally it's for every foot depth it has to be that much further away from the home. Will they be able to obtain that pool permit?
If the pool is 6 feet, I don't know, that is a building code.
Okay. Maybe Ms. Go can answer that question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Good
Name
morning,
and address.
everyone. For the record, Jessica Gow, Coppell Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard, Daytona Beach, Florida. As noted on this one, we have been through this a few times. Actually, even before 2022, this site has gone through the variance process that was related to the front stairwell, which I'll talk about in a moment. So when we went through in 2024, it was to rebuild the home in its existing footprint after the fire in 2022. That home footprint had a variance to the front for that stairwell tied to a different building plan set. And so when we came in with this variance, it was noted by county staff, and we agree that just to keep the record very clean, and because variances are tied to a specific site plan, we need to reapply that front setback variance to the site itself. The variance number 2 is again just to clean up from the survey as the as-built conditions on that approved variance. And then there is a request for the pool. So this property, and I think most of this board has heard land use attorney's frustration with corner lot regulations. This one will be a new frustration that I have found, but that I think makes sense in certain circumstances, which is that this lot is 157 feet deep. They own from the front of the lot all the way to the mean high water line. The revetment itself on this property, which I think is a fantastic choice for armoring, it mimics more of a natural system, it maintains sand, it kind of has less environmental impact, I would say, than a typical seawall, is about 20 feet wide, if not larger, because it kind of spills over into that natural dune system. So you've got a 20-foot rock revetment, and then you have 50 feet of property that is privately owned but is unusable. And so when we look at the application of setbacks on this oceanfront atypical lot, you're applying it on the inside edge of the revetment, or a seawall or any armoring that would be in place. So you've got 70 feet of unusable property that would certainly meet and exceed the setback over and over and over again, but that is held in kind of public use based on customary use of the beach and that revetment area. This property above that revetment has an existing wooden deck with stairs down to the beach. That encroaches all the way from the, I'm going to say, water side of the revetment, across the whole revetment and into the backyard. There's then a small gap, and there's a second-story deck that was approved by this board for a variance that extends over. The proposed pool is below the wooden deck and below the second-story deck, so on the ground floor. There is no rear door to this structure, so the 3 feet between the structure and the revetment is not something that you are going to kind of navigate around. You'll just kind of have the pool edge. There's no door from the back of the house to the outside. And it is located, like I said, partially below that top deck and then the wooden deck itself, so there's no actual additional visual impact to height or kind of overall. We did reach out to all of our adjacent neighbors. Both of our directly adjacent neighbors have submitted letters of support. You should have a copy of that. And what we are looking at here is an accessory structure, and I know that the analysis said that pools are not seen prevalently in this area, and I think that's because of the revetment placement. But the variance criteria is a use that is commonly enjoyed in this zoning district, and I think as an accessory structure, pools are commonly enjoyed in the residential zoning district, and if it can be applied where it's not injurious to adjacent neighbors, it is something that this property owner is requesting, and we think it's reasonable because it does not have any additional impact on the setbacks themselves because that deck is already there and the neighbors are in support of it. I am happy to answer any questions. I do want to note on the question about depth, I think it's 5 feet, and they would work through all the building permit requirements. They're trying to get the placement down first, and then they would go through all the Indian River Lagoon standards and all of that in building permitting, and get their DEP permit, which has to have the county approval before they can process. So that would all be kind of in the next step once this placement is complete if the variance is approved for the pool. And I am happy to answer questions.
Are you aware of the requirement for the depth to be that far from the home?
I am not, but the contractor will be, and it would be reviewed in the building permit process if that requirement exists. It might have to only be a dipping pool if it's limited to that.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
I have some.
Ms. Craig?
Hi. Who owned the property when the coquina revetment was put in place, and how was that position chosen?
So the coquina revetment stretches greater than a mile down this stretch of this area of the county. It was definitely there in 1987 and well before that. I think it's been there for a very long time. So it did not go through the standard process today where, you know, you look at it, you maximize your private area and you put the revetment or seawall in place. This property owner was not the owner at the time. It was decades and decades ago, but it was something that was put in, it looks like almost as a community improvement because it stretches across so many private properties.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, do we have any public participation forms for this case? Okay. We're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that case number V-26-0.
I'm sorry, Miss Shelley, can you just make sure your mic's on? We're not picking up audio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number V-26-075, variances to minimum yard and accessory structure requirements on R9 zoned property be approved, subject to the staff conditions.
6 total.
6 conditions?
Yep, and I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to approve variance 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the 6 staff conditions from Ms. Shelley.
There's only 3 staff conditions.
3 and 3,
Yes, sir.
are they the same?
No,
Yes.
there's 6 conditions.
There's
So
6?
for
How
variances
is that
1 and
done?
2, we have 3, and then if you look further down the page on page 7,
Right.
And
then we
below
were
it.
recommending
Okay.
denial on the other 2, and there's 3 more. Yeah.
There's a
We'll go
total of
with it.
6.
Let's go with 6.
Okay. All right, Ms. Craig, you had a comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, Chairman, I would like to request that the variances be voted on separately.
All right, we can do that. And we're going to separate, what we want to do is separate the pool from the other variances 1 and 2?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we're going to
Amendment motion, then.
mimic the motion for variance 1 and 2, and that has 3 conditions, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. You
That's
want to
what I was
amend your
looking
motion, Ms. Shelley?
Yep, motion is amended.
And seconded.
All right, motion amended and seconded for Ms. Shelley and seconded for Mr. Costa. Any discussion on variances 1 and 2? Ms. Bush?
Sorry, that was my comment to Ms. Craig, wanting to split the variance.
Okay.
I will comment on variances 3.
I'm sorry, Miss Bush, your microphone's not on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sorry about that. My apologies. I wanted to request that we break up the variances as well. I have comments on 3 and 4, and we'll speak to those when we get to that point. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're handling variances 1 and 2 with the 3 conditions as motion was stated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we're going to handle variances 3 and 4 with the 3 conditions for those. Ms. Shelley, you want to state that motion?
We approve variances 3 and 4, subject to the 3 staff.
Your microphone.
Dang it! I thought my voice would just
Don't go
carry.
throwing stuff.
Watch out, I'm going to blow this room out with this microphone on.
Go ahead.
Okay, that
We just got
variances, case number V-26-075, variances 3 and 4, be approved, subject to the staff conditions.
Second.
Okay, and I got Ms. Craig first. Are you still wanting to comment on the 3 and 4?
Yes, I really have a problem with an accessory structure of this type in a space that has specifically excluded it from what we allow. I have a problem with the setback itself. I just really have an issue with this request.
Okay, and Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate your comments and your, presenting your facts. I agree. But with staff, I'll agree that there's just not enough. The applicant is asking for this, and I just don't think that this is worthy of a variance with the request and where it's located, the conditions in which that it's located in a very unique and specifically, property that floods often, right? So I have concerns, just like Ms. Craig does, about allowing this. I understand getting the as-built correct. I understand, right, getting the front stairs correct, but this is an additional structure that I can't support. They have the ocean in their backyard, right? So anyway, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. All right. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's do a
Call.
roll call, please. Ms. Brown, could I get a roll call?
Sorry, we're just working through it real quick. Member Harrison?
I'm not in favor.
Member Craig?
No.
For the record, that was a no. Member Shelley?
Yes.
Member Costa?
Yes.
Member Bush?
No.
Member Sixma?
Yes.
And Chair
No.
Mills?
So motion fails. Do we need a affirmative motion, Mr. Soria?
I would recommend, that someone can make a motion to deny, or you can just call for any additional motions, and then let it die for lack of failure to obtain at least 4 votes.
Okay.
It's up to you whether or not you
Anybody
want
would like to make a motion in the denial part? I thought we always had to do one on the affirmative side.
Yeah, when I say affirmative, you want your motion to have specific findings if you are denying a variance application. So, for the variance 3 and 4? 3 and 4, assuming you do not want to pass it, someone makes a motion to deny based on failure to meet at least 3 of the 5 criteria in the variance. Or you can point to the staff report, because that's
All right, or else we can just let it die. Anybody like to make a motion in the denial?
So moved.
I'll move to deny variances 3 and 4 for case V-26-075 as it does not meet the conditions for the 5 criteria for the variance.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor for Ms. Bush to deny variances 3 and 4, and a second for Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to make the point, I don't know if anybody, that was brought up earlier, but we do have 2 letters of support from the neighbors on this property. That's the only comment I have.
I'll just make a comment. I was leaning towards denial, and then when Ms. Gow talked about removing any outside access from the building, that changed my vote.
Okay. The reason I'm voting no is because I hate to create a problem, and I think with a 3-foot setback from the home is going to create a problem. Matter of fact, 3 foot to the home and the 3 foot to the abutment. So that's the reason I'm voting no. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying, do you want to do a roll call on this one too?
yes.
Member Harrison?
Not in favor.
Member Craig?
Aye.
So a yes vote is to vote for the denial of 3 or 4, 3 and 4.
Mr. Urson?
Affirmative. Denial.
I'm sorry, one more time into the microphone, please.
Affirmative for the denial.
Thank you.
Aye.
No.
Member, where are we? Sorry, Costa? Member Bush?
No.
And Chair Mills?
Yes. We're voting against it. So what did the motion, well, how did that come up?
4-3.
4-3.
4-3 for denial.
Okay,
Staff thanks you.
all right.
Thank you.
Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Okay, mic is on. Case number Z-26-076, a rezoning from the prime agriculture A1 zoning classification to the rural agriculture A2 zoning classification.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. And this one is Ms. Costa's also. Go ahead, Ms. Costa.
Good morning again. This is a request by the applicant to rezone their 6.5 acres from A1 prime agriculture to A2 rural agriculture. A1 requires a minimum of 10 acres. A2 requires a minimum of 5 acres. This case was continued from July. The parcel was created in 2007 by the combination of 3 parcels. It does not meet the current 10-acre minimum, and this would also assist in creating a more conforming lot as far as the area and the structures as well. I do have a buildable area exhibit on this. The A1 are in blue, and the A2 setbacks are in pink, which would bring the house and the other structures into compliance with the setbacks. The rural future land use is both considered compatible with A1 and A2 and would remain consistent with our comprehensive plan. We do recommend that PLDRC forwards this to County Council with an approval.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, you, Ms. Bush.
My apologies. Is this something that you've thought, are there other parcels within this area that have the same issues on the zoning?
Actually, the parcels to the east of them, which are behind the home, are A2 as well.
Okay.
So it's consistent with the area.
Okay, I'm asking because I was just, when I was looking at this, in the history of the zoning on this property, I was just curious as to, again, why this wasn't administratively rezoned, and why we were making the applicant go through this. So.
It was just historically A1 at the time, so.
Right.
And if you see by the proposed, you can see the A2 behind it, and there's A1 to the south of it, so.
Yeah. The colors don't, you have A1 and A2 as the same color, so in the future, providing a different color variation would be helpful so that I could differentiate the zoning districts?
This was created by mapping, so I will possibly point that out to them
Yeah.
next time when we do this.
As somebody that deals with maps on a day-to-day basis, this is, they do a
it's
little
not
bit of better job cleaning that up to make sure that it's really, recognizable for the residents, right? Not just me.
Yeah, this is Samantha West, Planning Manager. We'll work with our mapping team. That is the general color that we use for all of our maps throughout the county. So we'll have to work with them. It probably will not be a change that happens quickly.
Okay, or like, you can put an overlay on an A1, put like dots or lines or something. That's a layer in ArcMap. But anyway, I won't get into it. Thank you. I was just curious on the administrative rezoning, why we're making this poor applicant go through this, the history of this property and the rezonings that the county's done on it, essentially. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Would you like to come forward?
No, thank you.
All right. Any question? Well, okay. Do we have any public participation forms for this case?
No, we don't.
Okay. We're going to close the floor for public participation, open up commission discussion or motion.
I'll make
I'd
a
be
motion,
happy
sir.
to make a motion.
Whichever one of you want to do it. Let me hear it.
Go for it.
Forward rezoning application case number Z26-076 to County Council for final action and recommendation of approval.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor, Mr. Urson, to forward the rezoning application case number Z26076 to the county council for final action with recommendation of approval, and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, case number V-26-083, variances to the accessory structure requirements on transitional agriculture A3 zoned property.
Okay, by the way, that finished up the old unfinished business, so now we're moving into new business. Ms. Tucker, this one's yours.
Hi, good morning, members. Again, for the record, Kelly Tucker, Planner 1. The applicant is requesting 2 variances to develop a 900 square foot detached accessory structure on transitional agricultural A3 zone property. The property is currently developed with a 2,680 square foot single family residence, a 96 square foot well house, and a 345 square foot pole barn. The owners purchased the property in July 8th of 2025. The subject parcel recently underwent a lot combination that created one unified legal building site from 4 additional smaller parcels that were all conjoined in together. A3 does have a minimum lot area of 1 acre and lot width of 150 feet. The subject parcel meets and exceeds these requirements as it is 2.6 acres in area and has a lot width of 168 feet. The minimum yards, when applied, the applicant has about 72,334 square feet of buildable area. According to the applicant's written petition, they are proposing to place a detached structure on an existing concrete pad. This location would require a variance to reduce the northwest rear yard from 40 feet to 16 feet and reduce the north rear yard from 40 feet to 18 feet. Additionally, in the written petition, the applicant noted multiple properties with accessory structures located within the minimum yards. 2 of those referenced addresses on Mayaka Road did not have any record of building permits or variances that were granted for said structures. The last reference application on 53 Aragon Avenue did receive a building permit in 2005 for a 30 by 30 building that was proposed to meet the quoted 25-foot side yard setback. However, based upon the evidence the applicant submitted, the building does appear to be 13 feet from the property line. Environmental permitting has reviewed the variance request and did not have any objections. However, they must comply with all environmental regulations of the Land Development Code. Staff does recommend denial for the variance request 1 and 2 of V26083 as it fails to meet criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4 for granting said variances, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, is the applicant present? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Craig. Yeah, you didn't push your button quick enough. Go ahead.
I don't know what the relevance of this is, but I noticed there's no attachment showing the wildlife corridor.
Because it's not located within the
reason for that?
wildlife corridor. Typically, if a map doesn't have the layer, we don't include it if it's not relevant and part of. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Name and address for the record, sir.
Michael Klaus, address is 5265 Mayaka Road, Dayland Springs.
Okay, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
I'm assuming you have all been dazzled with my documentation. So I do believe that it is a unique property. The property has been split and then I have rejoined it, again, trying to do the right thing by county code. The property is oddly shaped, so there are 2 properties that are unusable for any structure if they are not joined to another property because they do not meet minimum size requirements. I'm sorry. No. Okay. But then there is a structure that currently exists. So there's a small pole barn, but it does not meet the needs that I have personally, and it also does not cover that concrete pad. So that concrete pad at one point in the past has had at least 2 structures on it. One filled the entire pad, and then there's another that's available through aerial photos that filled about 3/4 of that pad. My neighbors obviously have spaces as large or larger than I'm trying to put on the property, and I am also the furthest from the lot line. So I am trying to play nice. I do have letters from my neighbors. There was only one I was not able to get a letter from. They're having some medical issues. I'm trying not to bother people. But I am a good neighbor. They all like me. Everyone who I have spoken to about this said they're so glad I have moved in and I'm taking care of the property. So I've taken a distressed property and I'm turning it into a piece that fits the neighborhood and fits the nature of that property. So that is why, again, I think it is unique because of the size, the shape. There is an asphalt driveway that leads to a concrete pad. I'm not like threatening or anything, but if this doesn't pass, I'm not removing the pad, and I'd like to not concrete more of my property. I do have livestock. I do intend to use this area for livestock. I do intend to grow it in the future for livestock. I am already in negotiation with my neighbor to purchase a piece of their property to expand. So again, I am trying to keep the nature of the county going, and again, I'm a very leave people alone, do your own thing kind of guy. So really, that's what I'm asking. I'm just asking for some consideration that this is the most logical place to put that structure. That structure does fit my needs. Anything smaller does not fit the needs of equipment that I'm trying to place into that. So I can't shorten it because then I physically can't put the equipment undercover that I need undercover.
Okay. Mr. Costa, you had a question for the applicant?
Yeah, you mentioned you had letters of support.
Yes, sir.
Can you turn those in, because I don't have them in my packet?
That was staff's fault. He didn't email them to me on July 8th. There are three.
Three?
Yes, so
Okay.
I do apologize.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, 3 of 5. One is a fernery that there's no. I sent an email to their fernery, and I emailed I mailed their PO box. No response. So I'm just assuming they're going to. They're ignoring me.
Okay. All right, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, do we have any public participation forms for this case? All right, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or motion.
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Shelley.
I move that case number V-26-083, variance to the accessory structure requirements on A3 zoned property, be approved, subject to the staff recommendations on page 5.
Second.
And how many conditions are those?
There are 2.
2, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor from Ms. Shelley to approve variances 1 and 2 on V-26083 with the 2 staff conditions, and a second from Mr. Costa. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to thank staff for a well-written staff report. It really laid out all the facts and the findings, and I really appreciate that. I do think that the evidence supports the existing use of the the driveway and the pad that's existing on the property. The additional letters, though, were mentioned, not provided, but thank you for mentioning there were 3, along with confirming that this is, keeping the existing character of the community. So I am in favor of this. Thank you, Chairman.
Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-26-087, variances to the minimum yard requirements on rural agriculture A2 zoned property.
Ms. Costa, this one's yours.
Good morning again. Our applicant is requesting 3 variances on A2 rural agriculture property at 2275 Hamilton Avenue in Orange City. The applicants are proposing a 1,595 square foot single-story, single-family residence with 3 setback variances to reduce the east front yard from 50 to 30 feet and reduce both the north and the south side yards from 25 feet to 14 feet. The property is approximately 9,893 square feet and 76 feet wide. This is substantially smaller than the A2 requirements of 5 acres and 150 feet in width. The parcel has been established as a lawful nonconforming lot. Lot combination was approved in February of this year. Building permit for the residence has also been submitted and contingent upon the approval of these variances. The primary issue is the limited size of the property and the limited buildable area. The buildable area is 29 feet by 26 feet, which would be approximately 774 square feet. Staff has also identified 7 previously approved variances along Hamilton Avenue for similar A2 properties. In reviewing the 5 criteria, we find that criteria 1, 2, 3, and 5 are met and recommend approval of variance V-26087. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Good morning. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Crystal Scribner. My address is 8 River Bluff Trail, DeBerry, Florida 32713.
Okay, and you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to it?
No, I think she did a better job than I could.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have any public participation forms for this case? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or motion. Thank you, ma'am. You can have a
I'd
seat.
be happy to make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Urson.
We go ahead and approve V-26-087 as they successfully meet criteria 1, 2, 3, and 5, subject to the 2 staff recommendations.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor for Mr. Urson to approve variances V 26087, variances 1, 2, and 3 with the 2 staff conditions, and a second for Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-26-089, variances to the accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R3 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Costa, this one's yours. You've been a busy lady.
Thank you. We have a request from the applicants who want to construct an in-ground swimming pool, spa, and associated pool deck with retaining wall within their atypical waterfront yard. Atypical waterfront yards, per our zoning code, 72-277, are not, accessory structures are not permitted within the atypical waterfront yard. They're requesting relief from that code, plus for the required 25-foot setbacks for the waterfront yard to 8 feet for the pool and 5 feet to the pool deck. There is a new home under construction at this property. The original home was built in 1957 and expanded in 2004. A demolition permit was issued December of last year, and the new home permit was issued in January of this year. Construction is currently in place. There is a consideration regarding the current accessory structure regulations. They came into effect July 2021. There are several homes in the area that do have pools that were constructed under the old accessory rules, which were allowing the pools to be set 10 foot from the waterfront setback. Staff finds that criteria 1 through 4 are not met. Of particular importance, the replacement home's design and placement. The pool could be placed differently. It could be placed in a different direction. It could be placed closer to the home. We do find that 5 is met since there are similar properties with swimming pools in the area. We did recommend denial on this, but we do have recommended conditions if you guys do find in favor of it. Do you have any questions?
Ms. Bush,
Thank you, Chairman. And I probably should have last one, but it wasn't as big of an issue as it is on. So we say in here that in-ground pools do not increase the lot coverage, right? We're considering them accessory structures.
Yes.
But they don't increase the lot coverage.
That's correct.
Correct. So I totally disagree. You put in a pool, it is going to increase the lot coverage, right? That's impervious surface, essentially. I understand it's not structure, right? But it is still an impervious structure. So I'll just leave it at that. But my question is, have you thought about considering, do you consider accessory structures as a part of the lot coverage?
The way our ordinance reads, it is for structures.
Structures. So now our code says that swimming pools are considered accessory structures, but we're not counting them towards the buildable area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, because it's structures with roofs. That's what we count towards lot coverage.
Structures with roofs?
Yes, with a roof.
So like gazebos, pergolas, things like that would count for an accessory structure,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Screen porch.
Well, a screen porch, if the roof is screen, no.
Correct.
Right? But if this roof is
That's a screen enclosure is one with a screen roof. A screen
room,
is
The room.
with a hard roof.
okay. I want to point that out, though. We are considering them from a setback perspective as accessory structures, but we're not counting that as an impervious surface or as lot coverage. And I just think anyway, I just want to point that out.
Yep,
we don't
that's how
count-
the definition is in the code.
Yeah, we don't
So
count impervious
just-
towards lot coverage.
Just to chime in, the purpose is a mass bulk and scale criteria rather than an impervious, stormwater criteria. So you're looking at visually, how does the lot appear to an outside observer? Is it imposing? Does it, is there too many structures such that it becomes crowded or, proposes a more massive size? That's why the lot coverage is drafted in the way it is, to cover roofed structures rather than, impervious surface.
I understand that. I'm just pointing out the issues in how you're describing and defining a swimming pool as an accessory structure in one area of your code and not necessarily. So that was.
Okay, any other questions for the staff? Is the applicant present?
They are.
Good morning. Could I get your names and addresses, please, for the record?
Yes, Sandra Massey, 3812 Amelia Drive. My husband, Stephen.
Stephen Massey, 3812 Amelia Drive, Port
Okay.
Orange.
And I'm Scott Leffler. I'm the pool contractor hired by the Masseys.
Okay. You've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, I'm the elected spokesperson for the day. Thank you, first of all, for your time and opportunity to present our facts here today. And also thank you to Ms. Costa, who has been, I would just point out, very generous with her time to answer many of our questions, as this is our first rodeo. So I'm going to talk about variance 1 first, because I think it's a little unique. And it's basically the whole atypical waterfront variance position that we're finding ourselves in. As already pointed out, our waterfront yard is classified as atypical with a setback that doesn't apply to most of the residential properties in our area. The new code that was passed in July of 2021 basically prohibits any structures in an atypical waterfront yard, which is the core issue of variance 1 for us. Also, as noted in the report by Ms. Costa, this update was intended to resolve conflicts between zoning and environmental conflicts related to wetland buffers and environmental issues, not necessarily intended to apply to residential properties that are protected, as ours is, with a coquina revetment and also a newly built 70-foot seawall. The environmental report did not have any objections to our proposed permit, as long as we comply with all other environmental regulations, which we would intend to do. I think the bottom line for variance 1 is the literal interpretation of the code seems to put an unnecessary and undue burden on us as residential property owners. But again, because we do have the environmental protections in place. And also, as pointed out with the report, there are several homes in our neighborhood adjacent to us and up and down the Halifax River that have comparable pools in their neighborhoods that meet the same character as what we're trying to create. So we would respectfully ask the Commission to consider those unintended consequences of that code when assessing our request for the variance for variance 1. With respect to variances 2 and 3, which gets down to the footprint of what we're trying to do, they are to a large degree directly tied to variance 1 because that created the new 25-foot setback. And again, as we're on an atypical lot, we are on a 70-foot wide by approximately 150-foot deep lot, which gives us just over 10,000 square feet of space. Unfortunately, even though the report does suggest we made the choice of where to place all the improvements on our property, we have been, I would say, severely constrained because the setbacks in place from the front, rear, and side yards have reduced that 10,000 square foot by more than half. We basically have less than 5,000 square feet of space with which we can build structures or pools. So for that reason, it creates somewhat of a hardship for us. But we did, when we designed our home, we did meet with our architect and we had lots of discussion. The older home, the 1950s home, was probably 10 feet from the road. So our new home now had to meet the 30-foot setback, which was a pretty significant push back to the west, to the river. And so again, when you're talking about our lot size, that severely constrained the backyard even more. But we did, because we wanted to protect the streetscape of our neighborhood. We wanted when you drive down through our neighborhood, we wanted all the facades of the homes to be consistent and keep our neighborhood pleasant. We're very close to all of our neighbors. We do a lot of things together, neighborhood activities, and so we wanted to keep, the look and feel of that in place. We also built a new seawall in 2024, and we did a lot of assessing about where to put that. Ultimately, we decided to align our seawall right abutting to our neighbors, again, trying to maintain consistency from the rear, from the waterfront, so that we have symmetry and a proper aesthetic from the rear of our home. So we made kind of choices. That seawall actually, again, because the setback is measured from the front of the seawall cap, which is a 2-foot cap. We recognize, here again, we're kind of encroaching on our rear yard, but again, trying to maintain consistency with our neighborhood and our neighbors was important to us, so we made those decisions. So I guess the last thing I would want to point out is that, we've severely constrained ourselves, I guess, because we're trying to meet, the setback requirements, our neighborhood aesthetic, be good neighbors, good social stewards. We did put in the seawall to help protect for the environmental concerns. And so we feel like our neighbors who have also provided letters of support, I'm not sure if those are in your package, have all been very supportive of us and are in total agreement that the pool would not cause any problems for the neighborhood. I guess ultimately we feel like denial of the variances kind of denies us of a right, and that's commonly enjoyed by our neighbors in the neighborhood and other people on waterfront properties. So we do ask for relief of these variances and approval so that we can have a safe, functional neighborhood pool that we can enjoy both with our family as well as our friends as we go forward. So I guess based on the constraints of the lot, the home placement decisions that we had to make, the neighborhood compatibility, the environmental support, the neighborhood support, we feel like we have a lot of things in our favor here, and so we're asking that the commission would respectfully approve our variances, and we do respect and note that there are reported conditions that we intend to comply. That's all.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? I do have one for the contractor. For the setback from the home, does it meet the requirements under the permitting?
It does, yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have any public participation forms for this case?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right, we're going to close the full,
Excuse me, was the question, do we have neighborhood support?
no, we got the letters of support.
Yes, we've got
We
those.
just, anybody here that would like to speak to this case?
Sorry.
Okay. All right, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or motion.
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Shelley.
And just for the record, I'm very familiar with this area down on Amelia Drive, so that's all I want to say. I move that case number V-26-089, variances to the accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R3 zoned property, be approved, subject to the staff conditions.
And how many?
I'll second, 3 conditions.
Thank you, page 6.
I've got a motion on the floor to approve variances 1, 2, and 3 for V-26-089 with the 3 staff conditions for Ms. Shelley and a second for Mr. Costa. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Craig?
Thank you, Chairman. This is unfortunately one of my hot button issues is the variances for reduced yards, and also just the fact that an urban accessory structure is not allowed by the zoning. So I will be voting against it.
Okay. Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I agree with Ms. Craig. You know, the rule in 2021 was put in place to protect residents, to protect from flooding, to protect from putting these types of accessory structures in areas that could have impacts to all of us later. So I agree with staff analysis. I did do a little Google earthing. I did go back about a decade and look at various conditions a decade ago, and then kind of ramp that up to today. I really, you know, the decks and the pools that were constructed 10 years ago were meeting that 10-foot requirement, but nothing past that time since 2021 has been put in place, or at least around that surrounding community that I could tell. I just think the reduction from 25 to 8 feet is excessive. Same thing to 5 feet. I think that there is room in your site plan to design the pool and get it a little bit closer to the house. So I am in agreement with Ms. Craig. I am in agreement with staff that I do not feel that that this variance request meets those conditions. So I'm not voting for it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Urson, you had a comment?
I ditto them both.
Okay. All right, any other comments?
Can we hear
All
from the contractor one more time or not?
Go ahead.
Just wondering, what's your response to Ms. Bush's about being able to move it closer?
Currently, footprint of pool and also the addition of the spa to the quality of life and what they're trying to achieve for their future. We did visit moving it and reducing the size of it, and it essentially reduced it to a size and shape that was not conducive to their quality of life and their future with their kids. So that being said, we did look at adjacent properties and anything in the area to come up with a compromise, and this is in line with majority of what we found in our study.
Okay.
So, that being said, I think we're adding roughly over 600 square foot of additional space with inclusion of the deck and the pool. So it's minimal. Not to say we didn't look elsewhere and redesign. So I would just say that.
Right.
Speaking to the question earlier with angle repos and stuff like that, with moving closer to the home, the structure is a multi-story structure.
I'm sorry, sir, can you get just a little closer to the mic?
The structure is a multi-story structure, so we're trying to minimize the impact on the vertical load and so on and so forth with what's being built current. So that was why the decisions were made.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Brown, could I get a roll call, please?
Member Harrison?
No.
Member Craig?
No.
Member Shelley?
Yes.
Member Bush? Oh, I'm sorry, Member Costa?
Yes.
Member Bush?
No.
Member Sixma?
Yes.
And Chair Mills.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 4-3. Okay. All right, next case, Ms. Shelley.
All right. Case number V-26-090, variances to the minimum yard and accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R4 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Tucker, this one's yours.
Thank you again for the third and final time today. Kelly Tucker, Planner 1. Bear with me, this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy presentation. We have a couple things to cover.
Can't have that.
So today, the applicant is requesting 5 variances overall to reduce the minimum yard requirements for a proposed 350 square foot addition and a 96 square foot existing accessory structure on urban single-family zoned R4 property. The property was developed with a 2,122 square foot single-family residence in 1989, and in 2007, the previous owners did apply for a building permit for the 96 square foot accessory structure. Based on that site plan from the permit, the structure was proposed to meet the front yard 25-foot setback. The current owners purchased the property in September of 2024, and the subject parcel is whole lot 19 of the Pierside subdivision, which was deemed vested and eligible for building permits on February 26, 1987. The R4 zoning classification has a minimum lot area of 7,500 square feet and a lot width of 75 feet. The subject parcel does meet these requirements as the lot area is 10,650 square feet, and the lot width is 65 feet based on the survey. However, for measurements, I do believe it to be closer to the 75 feet of frontage. For the proposed 350 square foot addition, this would require 3 variances. Variances 1 would be to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 19 feet. And then we have 2 variances for the east side of the structure. The variance 2 would be to reduce the side yard from 8 feet to 4 feet, and variance 3 for the bottom right corner would be to reduce the east side yard setback from 8 feet to 0 feet. The applicant has spoken to the neighbor to the east who would be most affected by these variances, and they did submit a letter of support, which is included in your staff report package. Additionally, 2 letters were submitted after the staff reports were published that you did receive this morning on the dais. According to the applicant's written petition, they are requesting this addition for the storage of their personal items and/or vehicles in addition to the garage that is already part of the existing residence. During the review of the original request, staff did observe the 96 square foot 96 square foot detached accessory structure that was not in compliance with the front yard setback as stated in the 2007 permit. So 2 variances would be required for this structure. Variance 4 is to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 11 feet, which is where the structure currently stands. And variance 5 would be to allow the accessory structure to remain within the front yard. Staff did create a buildable area exhibit that demonstrates the applicants have 2,145 square feet of unused buildable area. Staff also conducted a site visit on July 6 and observed several large homes within the area. However, no properties were developed with either 3-car garages or had large additional detached accessory structures on the property. Staff does recommend denial for variance requests 1 through 3 as they fail to meet all 5 of the criteria for granting said variances, and staff also recommends denial for variances 4 and 5 as they fail to meet criteria 1 through 4 for granting said variances. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, is the applicant present?
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Could I get your name and address for the record?
I am Jason Scavell, the owner at 180 Pierside Drive, and this is Tim, the builder of QCP.
You want to
construction.
say?
Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
And your address, sir?
926 Valencia Road, South Daytona.
Okay. You've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
I have. First things first, I'm an air traffic controller, and I am extremely nervous sitting in front of you guys. This is just crazy to me. All right. With that being said, a couple of things that we learned talking with Kelly and our teams meeting, which was great, by the way. The shed that was there, we didn't even know it was non-conforming. Like I said, there was a permit pulled, and I believe the permit was closed, but I don't really know, and I don't know. That's, like I said, the shed was already there. It's been there. We've never touched it. We didn't know anything about it until it was brought up with Kelly, and she said, add it in. We said, okay, fine. Oops, sorry. Secondly is our attached third bay garage. It's a little side note. I grew up in Connecticut, and anyone in the Northeast knows that they have real garages there where you can open your car door and not hit the wall. Down in Florida, they do the minimum, 20 feet by 20 feet, and you have not much room in your garages. Besides the fact that when the house was built in 1989, the most average size car was about 15 feet. So you still had room to park your car and still had room to open everything. Not anymore with the new vehicles that are much larger. I cannot fit my current truck in our current garage. And if I did, I would have about 4 inches to try to get to said car, and there's just no room. So our request is to maximize as much as possible the garage width and garage length so I could fit my current truck in there and I have room. I get it out of the driveway in a garage. I know a lot of people prefer not seeing any cars in driveways. This does help with that. On top of it all, I think you said I have 3 letters. Did you get the one this morning? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. My neighbor, so I have the 3 letters, one neighbor, and then the other neighbor, the most affected, she said yes. Both of them said yes, and that neighbor said they was able to send their first ever email last night. They've never done email before, so that was fun. But yeah, so she sent recommendations. We have 3 recommendations we love our neighbors. Our neighbors absolutely love us. There's no qualms with anything. And I know the worry, I believe the worry of going to 4 feet or 0 feet on this neighbor. I get you. Don't worry. I know. The only good thing in my eyes is that they actually own a double lot. I'm not sure if you could see any better aerial photos. They have a double lot that is one lot. They own all of it. It's not going to be split. She is older. She's leaving the house to her kids. Her kids love us. They're all in favor. They all hope we get this. And as of right now, on top of it is that on that side of the house where we have the proposal is our trash cans. Those trash cans will be coming inside. I'll be putting them in the garage, out of sight, out of view. Again, also, we live on a cul-de-sac and a dead end. There is no one past us. I have 4 houses past us. There's nothing else. And then Riverwalk Court is also a dead end, but almost none of those people would see this because they turn off before they even get to our house. I'm hope I'm saying all the right things, and I really do hope you guys will approve this because, like I said, when we did buy this house 2 years ago, the plan was, hey, I can fit my truck in a new garage only because, again, it literally will not fit. My truck is 20 feet long or 19 feet, 3.333. So anything at 20 feet in a garage, you have literally no room to put any vehicle in there. So I did a 25-foot garage thing. I'd have some room to park and move around it. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say or think? No, like I said.
Also, I just want to make that the encroachment is only the corner, the back corner of the way the house is positioned. He has a very unique situation because the house is not straight with the property. It's at an angle, so it makes it very hard to do any addition of any sort. Even if we moved it to the other side of the house and he had to walk out the back around the house, it would still be an encroachment. So I just want to point that out, that it's just the back corner that's going to be the encroachment part.
Yeah. Yeah, the lot line goes that way and the structure's going that way, so we're gaining more as you go towards the front.
Right. How wide is this structure?
How wide is it? It's it's 14 feet total.
Yeah.
And then with the cinder block, it's actually 13.4 inside.
So it's 14-foot total width.
Correct, correct, yep.
Okay.
Which,
Length?
25 feet total.
25.
And I can't move it further back because of two things. One, the AC outside air handler's there, and it encroaches on the corner lot there.
Okay. Ms. Bush, you had a question for the applicant?
Thank you, Chairman. I was just curious if you had conversations with the neighbor about maybe adjusting that lot line and buying a part of that parcel in order to not have to come before us and ask for a 0 lot line request?
Yes, I'm going this route first, and I'm hoping I don't have to go that route of buying land for a garage. I'm hoping.
I understand.
Yeah, and that's my. Yeah, yeah.
I just wasn't sure if that.
No, I've already thought about it, and I'm hoping I can get this approved this way, knowing I have the letters. They're all for it again. And if you, did you guys take pictures when you drove by?
Yeah, there's.
So like I said, when you drive by, it's just a huge lot next to us. Like it is a massive open. Yeah, so.
In the photo exhibit that's part of the staff report, we have a couple direct overhead aerials of the surrounding area, but there's also a lot of vegetation buffer as well, which is kind of one of the reasons why it would be difficult to move the 96 square foot structure. Not only are the vines connecting it and anchoring it to the ground for the next hurricane, but there's a whole wall of foliage as well, so.
Yeah, and actually the front right corner, I think there's 9 huge palm trees. There's plenty of foliage there that we're not touching. And that was the one day I want to make sure, so I was like, I'm not cutting anything down. We're not cutting. There's one tree I think we do have to because it will be in the way. But otherwise, everything else I want to keep. I like the foliage. I like the coverage. I want to keep it. It's just, like I said, the garage will be there for hopefully my truck.
Okay. And we can't move it forward to get off that 0 lot line.
if we move it forward, then I have to move, well, then you'd have to approve the front, yeah, like, and I guess the thing that I don't understand as me personally is that this is the curb, then a 12 and a half feet, and then another 19 feet. So it's. No, I'm
Okay.
saying my measure, again, I'm all new to this, is your understanding of it all, but in theory, my front is still going to be 30 feet from the road? Is that correct? 12 and a half feet and 19 feet? Do I have that correct? still 31 feet from the road. Not like I'm going to 10 feet, like it's still very, like I said, the setback you have at 25 feet is still 12 feet from the curb, if I understand that correctly. So it's even further off the road, if I understand that correctly. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, Mr. Costa, you had a question?
Yeah, for actually both the contractor. Looking at this on the screen, you can't kick that bottom of that barn to the left and potentially go 2 foot on the top, 2 foot on the bottom instead of going 4 and 0?
You're talking about the shed?
Yep. The zero lot line is the issue, is the holdup right now.
That's the garage, not the shed.
Okay, the garage. Is it existing or is it to be constructed?
Be constructed.
So my point is, can you kick that bottom over so you have a 2 foot variance on the top and then 2 foot on the bottom instead of the 0 feet on the bottom of that picture?
Narrowing it down to like 11 feet, the garage.
Are we getting it mixed up here? The
I'm looking at the yellow box up on top.
Okay. So
It'd be in the home. It's up against the, how far is it from the home?
it's attached. It's literally attached.
Okay, so it's,
You can't swing the back end.
no, you can't swing it around.
And if we move it forward, to the street, we need a
Okay,
variance. If
I'll
we
follow
move
you
it
now.
back, we need a
Okay.
variance. If we need,
Yeah.
any way we go with it, we need a variance. So
Well, I
this
can
was
tell
the
you the issue
easiest.
is a zero lot line.
No, we get it. We understand. Like I said,
There it is.
my question, and I'm glad I could talk about this, is there something, because I saw that she filled all the variances I didn't know, so it's 8 feet to 4 feet, 8 feet to 0 feet. Will you approve to a 1 foot or a 2 foot? I don't know, and this is completely new to me, I said. So I get the zero lot line, I really do, and like I said, it's kind of hard to, this entire structure is literally land, and their neighbor's house is across the street. It's not like there's a house there, and like I said, and that is all one lot already. It's not a split lot. She owns all of that, and she has no problem with it.
Also to keep a.
Go ahead.
I'm so, maybe I fell asleep during the presentation here.
Fine.
It's very possible that I zoned out. Why could you not put that garage on the other side of the house where you've got more space? Was there something I missed here?
On the other side,
presentation? Where the metal shed is, basically, that you're also asking for a variance on.
well, we didn't know about that. That was, like I said,
That's my point is, can you put the garage on that side of the house? You've got much more space.
the electrical, the power, and the internet, all that run through there, and they actually run basically right in front of that shed, which is another thing I'm guessing that's why they put it in a different spot, but I don't know anything about it when they applied for that. But if that would be the case, then I have to figure out how to get from the garage into the house, whereas there's already a means from the current existing 2-car garage. There's actually a 4-foot wide window that would become the entrance, and that's how they'd be attached. So there's no extra means or necessary need, to get into the house. I don't know how we could work that out of putting it on the other side. Then we're also coming in on a different street, because that's Riverwalk Street, and then we'd have to get another way, a means to get into the house.
And the reason I'm looking at these different options is because I'm going to reiterate it again, your holdup is that zero lot line.
Oh, I understand. That's what I'm asking. Is there a way to get it to 2 feet or 1 foot, or I don't know.
That's my question to you guys. Is there a way to get that zero off of there? Your chances are probably increased tenfold from this panel.
The only option we would have is either to move the garage forward to accommodate at least a 2-foot setback on that corner, or chop the corner of the garage off and make it a.
It would be an odd shape.
Yeah, odd shape garage.
I'm not in favor of that. Cutting the corner off just to make, it doesn't make any sense. But moving it forward sounds like it could potentially be a workaround.
Yeah, and the other problem is if we move it forward, I was just trying to keep the curb view of the house.
I understand.
So we don't have like a weird staggered look on a house.
I get it.
It doesn't match anything else in the neighborhood, so try and keep that front looking as smooth as possible.
How far would you have to move it forward to get your 2 foot?
Probably 4 to 5 foot.
4 to
Because
5
of the angle of the way the house is sitting on it.
Yeah, because we're already giving the front yard setback from 25 to 19, so that's reducing it to another, 2 feet or 4 feet, you said?
4 feet, say, yeah, 15.
So we're reducing that down to 14 feet approximately?
Yeah, 15 feet.
15, 14? I think that would be more, let me put it this way, it would be more palatable for me to agree to something like that if you were able to move it forward. The zero lot line is definitely an issue, yeah.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. My biggest thing is I would like it to stay on that side of the house preferably, and that's why I'm saying I'm okay moving it forward. It will stick out more, which aesthetically, I don't know how much that matters to you guys. I'm trying to be feasible and, help out as much as we can, that's all, so.
It's either either move it so you don't have the zero lot line or purchase the adjacent parcel. Those are it sounds like kind of what you're up against.
The whole parcel is her house.
Yeah, got it.
So, yeah.
Ms. Bush, you had a comment?
I got you.
Sorry. Since we're having this discussion, I appreciate Mr. Costa's points about shifting it forward and getting off that zero lot line, but I agree with Ms. Tucker in the fact that this garage structure really is unlike anything else in your community. There's nobody that has that kind of structure at this point. I've done the Googling, right? I've looked.
Yep.
And that's my struggle, is the character of the community and how it will likely shift by you putting the structure in, regardless if it's on the lot line or not.
Yeah.
So I am going to have some heartache if you do shift it forward, to be honest.
Okay,
right?
and that's.
I have
yeah.
an issue with both the fact that it's in the front yard, right, and the fact that it's a zero lot line. So that's why I posed the question to you originally about how friendly you are with your neighbor.
Yeah,
and how you can have that conversation
yeah.
about buying 20 feet. Like, it's not, and then going through the county, figuring out what that request looks like. I know that's an additional challenge, right? But at least you're more likely to get what you want, and it's operable how you like it, and it's the least request before this board.
Okay. All right.
Chair Mills, I'd like to make a recommendation for the
Yes.
board. 2 options you can consider. You can offer a continuance to the applicant, or you can come back and redesign, or you can, if you just determine a distance you're comfortable with, such as 2 feet from the east and shifting it further north, we can condition that they have to provide us a new revised site plan before we issue the rendition letter.
Okay.
So either option is up to you.
And that's why I was glad we could talk about this personally. So like I said, we're okay if we can shift it, like I said, and, get a 2-foot setback to the right, to the east, and then it would be 15 feet off the front.
You may want to look at the length also, from the 25, reducing it down a few feet in order to, to keep that aesthetic look so it don't stick way out past the house. The zero lot line is what I've got a problem with, like Mr. Costa said. Ms. Urson, you had something, Ms. Craig, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you. I live in that area, so I drive John Anderson a lot.
I do too. There's plenty I've seen.
And there are a number of houses along the riverside in particular that have garages in front, basically. It's attached to the house, but it makes an L, and they enter the garage from the side rather than the end. So I disagree that there is nothing in the area that's exactly like this. I mean, functionally, it's very different.
Correct. When staff did their analysis, it was based off of Pierside Drive, not John Anderson, because it would be characteristic to that neighborhood and that subdivision. That would be how we review that.
Mr. Urson?
I just want to say I support a continuance. Maybe you got some more homework to do.
Yeah, I would be also, but Mr. Costa?
I'd offer up to the applicant to continue this to the October meeting, give you a chance to come back, regroup, come back. I think it's in your best interest, but that's strictly your decision.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Okay. Is there any chance of us doing today of the, like you offered up we agree in the sense of a 2-foot lot line and shifting it, and then the variance changes to a 15 feet? Is that possible?
You won't know until you get a vote.
No, I don't know what to do. That's what I'm asking. I know how, like I said, he had the idea, so I just don't know, is that possible?
You'd have to come back to us with a new
I'm gonna have to ask
site plan.
legal, I'm gonna have to ask
Okay.
legal for that, about that. Mr. Soria, what is it? Because we are changing the conditions and everything.
Right, so the general rule of thumb is I do not encourage you to site design at the dais.
Okay.
I would recommend a continuance, but it's, you have done those particular motions before where you have reduced the requested variance and basically said like, hey, here's your box, go, this is what you have to play with, go forth and, actually submit a design to that. So it's up to this board, but typically my recommendation is
I agree,
don't do
we
site
did it in
planning.
the past, but we haven't did it with multiple variances and multiple conditions. So, Ms. Bush, you had a comment?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, everybody else is good, okay. Are you good with the continuance?
I guess.
You're gonna have to just go back to the drawing, but that zero, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna fly with a zero lot line.
Okay. Okay. And
I mean, that's my opinion, my knowing this board, and I don't know which way they're gonna vote, but I can tell you.
I have an
the zero
idea,
lot-
let's put it that way, but.
Zero lot line is not gonna fly. And I'm not insinuating they need to vote one way or the other.
Oh, no,
but
no,
the fact
absolutely.
of the- I just know what would come forward. So you're better off doing a continuance, coming back with a whole new idea and going from there. So are you good with that? If not, we can go vote on it. I mean, that's
up to you.
It's up to you.
Yeah, my other question was, not about that, but going back a minute ago, if we do put the garage on the other side of the house, this property doesn't qualify for a double driveway access. So we'd have to have an additional driveway on the other road.
So you're just, okay.
So we have to give a variance. That's why it was mentioned earlier by you guys, and I was just bringing that point out that we'd have to have a double driveway variance anyway, so we're kind of stuck. We're going to be a rock and a hard place here, so.
I think we've get a little bit of, and the truthful, you're still going to be asking for variances, so there's no guarantee that you're going to get them, but you're more apt.
Correct, yeah,
You're more apt to get them by.
I really do not want to move the whole thing to the other side of the.
Yeah, this is in your benefit, because otherwise, for you to come back, if we were to deny it, then you to come back, it would take you have to wait a year, correct? So I would advise you to take the course. I'm not going to.
No, it's all right. So then, so what do I have to say or do? Request it?
Yeah, so you just agree and then they're going to vote for the continuance.
Okay, all right, yeah, so, okay.
You'd like to make a continuance?
Yes, but yeah.
Okay, request. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, then I'd say on case V-26-090 that I make a motion that we continue it to the October 15th PLDRC meeting.
I'll second that.
Is,
60 days.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor to continue V-26090 to the 15th of October from Mr. Costa and a second from Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Thank you.
We've got a big schedule in September. We got 19 cases already. I'm trying to push it out a little bit.
okay. Case number V-26-091, variances to the accessory structure requirements on rural agriculture estate RA zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Ray, this one's yours.
Good morning. Kristen Ray, Planner 2. The applicant is requesting 3 after-the-fact variances to the accessory structure requirements. Variance 1 is to reduce the south front yard from 45 feet to 2.6 feet for an existing 792 square foot pole barn. Variance 2 is to reduce the south front yard from 45 feet to 30.4 feet for an existing 48 square foot shed. And variance 3 is to allow the accessory structures to be located within the front yard. The property is currently developed with a single-family residence and multiple accessory structures. The property fronts 2 rights-of-way, Oak Lane, a 60-foot private road and utility right-of-way easement that ends in a cul-de-sac to the south, and a 25-foot ingress-egress and utility easement along a portion of the eastern property line. According to this survey, the 30 feet of the right-of-way easement is located on the applicant's property. All setbacks are measured from the right-of-way easement line instead of the property line. The property is zoned Rural Agricultural Estate, RA, which has a minimum front and rear yard requirement of 45 feet and a minimum side yard requirement of 25 feet. Accessory structures exceeding 500 square feet in area shall meet the same requirements of the principal structure. Structures under 500 square feet may be located no closer than 5 feet from any side and rear lot lines. However, all accessory structures must meet the minimum front yard setbacks as measured from that southern right-of-way line. Staff's recommendation is to deny variances 1 through 3 as they fail to meet criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4 for granting said variances. Should the PLDRC find that the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence to support approval of the variances, 4 conditions were provided for your consideration. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
My name's Todd Gates. I'm a contractor that's been helping him out with the paperwork and online work.
All right, Mr. Yates, could I get your address, please?
Yeah, it's 451 Hampton Crest Circle, Unit 201, Heathrow, Florida 32746.
All right, sir, and your name, sir?
My name is Mark Hale. I'm at 3199 Oak Lane, Edgewater, Florida.
All right, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to it?
Yes, sir. The way my lot is designed, there is no other place to put this pole barn. Being with the lakes there, and I've already got with the wetlands, and they're okay with everything to be approved for where it's at. It is hidden with a bunch of shrubberies and trees. You cannot see it from the road. I did have enough room for the pole barn to 45 feet from the middle of the road to it. We did not know there was a right-of-way there, and apparently that circle comes around and comes very close to where the pole barn is. Now, this right-of-way has not been used in 18 years that I've been there. It's just the end of a dirt road, and nobody's ever used it as a turnaround or cul-de-sac or anything there. It's all vegetation around there. You can see the aerial views that there's just shrubbery and everything around, and there's nowhere else on my property up to 3 acres I could put this.
Okay. All right, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Ms. Craig, go ahead.
I actually don't know if this is for the applicant or for staff, but I'm wondering about this right-of-way. Is the FEC, are they liable at any point to come forward and make an issue of this? Of the encroachment?
So, yeah, into the right-of-way?
Correct.
Mr. Soria, go ahead.
There are a few things that are kind of unassailable. God, the FEC, when they own the property. The FEC can do what they want on their property. They're older than dirt, and they've been here forever. And you may receive a letter from the railroad, but that's up to them.
That's not in the
There's not in the railroad. There's trails for rails that's they built beside my house. It's a bicycle hiking trail, and I'm not even close to that.
Oh, it's the trails. So,
If it's still their right of way, I mean, we've got trails agreement with the FEC and Duke Energy all the time. It's
So it's a
So they
risk.
could be required to move it in the future, even with the variance, is
I'd
what
like
you're
to
saying.
add, the structure that on the plan is being showed in the right-of-way has been relocated, and that's not what we're discussing here.
Okay.
So Ms. Craig's issue has been resolved.
Okay.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right. We do have some public participation forums. I'm going to let them come up and speak. And then after they have spoken, I'll give you an opportunity for any rebuttal that you may have, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Our first one is Tyler Stewart. Could I get your name and address for the record?
My name is Tyler Stewart. I live at 3198 Oak Lane. My mother owns the property. I'm currently the renter. She sent me with a notarized letter. Her name is Joyce Brantley. She is the owner of 3198 Oak Lane, Edgewater, across the street from Mark. She was recently in the hospital and just got home, which is why she's not here today. She has owned the property for 46 years. It was once a beautiful place to live. Then Mr. Hale started dumping his junk all over the property that does not belong to him. The easement he is discussing not being used is not used because he leaves trailers full of yard trash, parks RVs, leaves boats with trailers that don't have tags and don't have motors parked in the easement. So it's not that it's not used, it's that we can't use it, which is not exactly the same thing. At one point, he had an RV parked next to the pole barn. I did email in pictures. They had people living in the RV next to the pole barn without it hooked up to septic, sewer, power. Basically, we have lots of transient foot traffic all of a sudden. He's been raided multiple times by the sheriff's department for drugs, and we believe that the shed that's actually on the FEC Railroad property is one of the ways he is actually moving illegal substances onto the bike trail to other drug houses in the area. Also, the people have decided, some of the people that go to his property have decided to use the cut through to the bike trail that's on my property that says no trespassing. We've had motorized motorcycles come through that, go right into his yard. There's a 911 call from the last few months. My dog woke me up to go out at 4 a.m. and a truck pulled in my driveway. I'm literally the last house on the street. There is nowhere else to go. So at 4 a.m., there's no reason for a truck to be in my driveway. It pulled in my driveway. My dog started running towards it. I called 911. It left my yard and went right over to Mark's and pulled right up next to that shed, right on the bike trail. We, the community, that's why there's so many of us here today, we, the community, are over the riffraff. We're over having to look at the stuff when we're trying to drive to our house. We shouldn't have to see broke down boats and untagged trailers and trash. And he says you can't see the pole barn from the street. I sent in pictures, I believe, to you that show all the stuff you can see. And I even took pictures this morning before I came in and sent them in as well, just so that you guys can see like what we have to live with. Basically, we want it cleaned up, and I don't believe he should get the variances because people that hang out in those sheds and stuff then turn around and cause problems on the street. My next door neighbor had somebody who was a frequent at Mark's house try and break in his house at 5 a.m. Within the last few months, I believe I sent the mug shot from that arrest in as well. So pretty much it's that everything that goes with those properties being so close to the road. We have watched drug deals take place where cars drive off and people are standing there counting money in that easement. So we're at the point where we just feel like they need to be taken down and moved all the way onto his property. If he wants to do that on his property, it needs to be all the way on his property, not where we have to worry about it and not where my kids could potentially be exposed to it walking home from the bus.
Okay. Any pictures or anything that you have that you'd like to submit for the record, if you can have to Ms. Brown, and they will become part of the record?
We have emails from this morning that unfortunately were submitted after our cutoff deadline to be able to provide you the physical documentation, but we do have the digital copies.
So, yes, if you would like to see those digital copies right now, we can put them on the screen.
Yeah, we're currently working on
As a
that.
public participant.
Okay. Let's hear from the next speaker, okay? Jennifer Sullivan.
Good morning.
Can I get your name and address for the record?
My name is Jennifer Sullivan. I live at 3189 Oak Lane. I'm the neighbor to the applicant.
Okay.
I brought a letter that's signed by all of the other all of the addresses on the street signed the letter, and they were unable to attend this morning because we have to work, we have kids in school, things like that. So I'd just like to read that, and then I can give you guys a copy of the letter with all of the signatures.
Yeah, you can read it to us and then give it to Ms. Brown to my immediate left. It'll
Okay.
become part of the record, you will not get it back.
That's fine, that's fine. The residents of Oak Lane are writing this letter in response to the requested structural variances of Mark Hale, resident of 3199 Oak Lane. Many of the Oak Lane residents are unable to attend this meeting in person due to work or family obligations and have asked me and my neighbors, Elliot and Tyler, to represent our collective non-support of these requested variances. Our signatures may be found at the end of this letter. The following sections detail our specific reasons requesting for the variances to be denied. Mark Hale has built 3 structures on the 3199 property that are in clear violation of the county codes. These were discovered in 2023 when I worked with the county for the permitting of my pool. The county employees of the Wetlands Department noticed the violations and filed the code complaints with the county for the improperly placed structures at that time. To date, it does not appear visibly from my property that any attempt has been made to address these code violations. The property remains cluttered with junk and debris to address, including rundown cars, RVs, as well as barn and tarp structures. These can be found on all sides of the property, including the front facade abutting the pond. All structures contain junk, including tree debris, metal scrap, various boats, full trailers, and machinery. It is an inconvenience for all of us to have to be here today because Mark has decided to commit an unlawful act against the county and then try to ask for forgiveness after the fact. The residents of Oak Lane have had many complaints concerning Mark and his property over the last few years. In addition to these code issues, of particular concern has been his sale and distribution of illegal drugs, the numerous squatters on his property, and the amount of trash on the property. We have raised concerns to the Code Department, the Health Department, and the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, all of which have been documented and can be found in the public record. We are just trying to keep our neighborhood and properties safe and free from crime. This is the primary reason we are coming before you today to ask that you do not grant these variances to Mark. Based upon his criminal history and the numerous arrests that have come from his property over the last few years, approving these variance requests would enable him to continue to use these out-of-code structures to facilitate his criminal activities and decrease the safety of Oak Lane. These structures contribute to his illegal activities, specifically the garage-like structure located on the back of the property that is clearly built on the county land on the NSB Rails to Trails path. The structure is lit throughout the evening and motorized vehicles frequently stop there throughout the night. This can all be heard on Oak Lane. Further, we have witnessed the exchange of money on Oak Lane in front of Mark Hale's property. And additionally, there have been numerous arrests for domestic violence and drugs, including 2 overnight raids by the Volusia County Sheriff and East Coast Narcotics Division, resulting in multiple arrests for felony charges, including fentanyl trafficking, possession of paraphernalia, methamphetamines, controlled substances, and drug equipment. Mark, along with all of the other residents on the property, were arrested and charged.
Ma'am, 3 minutes is what you're allowed. You've had 3 minutes. But it will become part of the record. You can give it to us, and then they send it around. How many signatures do
You
have
need
on that
me to
letter?
submit the public record, or you can pull the public
You
record?
give it to Ms. Brown to
Okay.
my left. It become part of the record.
Okay.
And then we can actually read the letter or whatever. It's the continuance of the letter. But we limit our responses to 3 minutes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
She's speaking for all the neighbors. I would grant her an extra minute and a half.
I concur.
Support that, yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mark, I'll read faster, by the way. Mark, I was trying to enunciate for, believability, credibility. Mark, along with the others on the property, are arrested and charged. Many on the property are not residents, but squatters or transient visitors. These transients, along with Mark, made use of the additional structures that it's built on the property to purvey the use and sale of the narcotics. We're constantly traversed by numerous bicycles, people on foot, and cars that don't belong to our residents. Since Mark started his criminal activities, Oak Lane has had 3 break-ins on the road by visitors to Mark's house, as well as property disappearing from our yards. This has required the residents of Oak Lane to install nighttime lighting, security cameras, and fencing to deter Mark's customers from trespassing on our property. This heightened level of safety was never necessary until criminal activity began at Mark's residence. It is unsanitary, unsafe, and acceptable for the mess, garbage, abandoned and broken vehicles, and debris located in the front yard. At one point, he had a structurally damaged RV, which Tyler mentioned, so I'll skip that. All of the clutter and debris located all throughout the property also makes it hard and more dangerous for law enforcement to access the property and serve the various warrants. Officers and county workers are put into harm's way because of this. Not only is it unsightly, but the officers are forced to wade through all the debris, which could be potentially hazardous. We, the residents, believe that Mark should be held accountable as a property owner for allowing these events and criminal activity to take place on our street. He has personally brought this disorder, criminal activity, and needs for the county variances upon himself through his blatant disregard of the county codes and laws. We all have properties that abut the wetlands in some way. We've had to be considerate of these areas and rules and conduct our property improvement projects accordingly by either changing plans or paying mitigation and late fees. Mark's code enforcement issues have been ongoing since 2023. It's high time for him to take responsibility. Another safety issue is blocking of the turnaround that he talked about at the end of the road. This makes it hard for emergency vehicles to come down our road and turn around in addition to the county garbage and other large vehicles. We don't receive any financial assistance on our road to take care of it. We take care of it ourselves. So because of the easement being cut off, that roundabout, the large vehicles are using our driveways and through-throughs and getting stuck during the wet times and stuff like that. So that's a hardship on our part as well. In addition, there's a constructive easement between Mark and my property. And it has been there since the construction of the two houses, which happened at the same time many years ago. The driveway has been shared by both of us since the construction over the houses. Over the past year, in an effort to keep law enforcement out, Mark has attempted to build a gate to cut off access to this easement. He has also placed a sign of no trespassing and a threat to law enforcement with bodily harm resulting if they enter the property without his permission. This isn't a workable situation. The easement/driveway is the access point for my backyard and my pool area, as well as his property. If there's an emergency, the gate and marked signs may delay medical assistance to my house. This can be very detrimental and dangerous to people on my property and to me in any sort of an emergency, including a fire or medical incident. You've seen pictures of the and the current conditions, the arrest complaints, all that good stuff. We all have guidelines at all of our houses. We feel like Mark should have to abide by the same guidelines. We feel like he has too much control of the street right now with the unauthorized and unpermitted structures and by breaking the law, and we'd like to see it end here. He doesn't just get to abuse the land, his neighbors, their families, their properties, the wetlands, the easements, and the law to fit his personal agenda and ask forgiveness after the fact. The residents have worked through the county and paid for our permitting and inspections to maintain our properties and to ensure that we're all within the code.
I think we get your point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. And
All
we
right.
would hopefully be thanking you for your support.
Thank you.
Just one question. How many signatures total?
I believe I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
If you want to
That
submit
includes
those
all
to-
of the houses on our street.
To Ms. Brown,
except
to my
for
left,
Mark's.
For it to become part of the record.
Okay, you get this?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the extra time.
And the next speaker will be Elliot McAdown. Yeah. McAdowney? McAdowney, okay.
I'm Elliot McEldowney. I live on 3133 Oak Lane and helped put together that epistle. What I would really like to talk about in more detail winds up being the roundabout that's supposed to be there. It's on the blueprint when the development was put together 40 years ago or thereabouts. It makes it impossible, obviously, for anything large to be efficient in the property. And consequently, we have a neighbor down the street, and we're on a dirt road. So neighbor down the street has them backing the trash trucks and whatnot backing into his driveway all the time, and it's tearing it up all the time for no practical purpose. I mean, there's a solution to it that's on the print from day one. We need that to go back the way it's supposed to be. So that's my addition to
Okay.
so if
A lot was said previously, but
Yes,
that's
no, I
okay.
understand that.
We get the point.
I don't know if you have questions relative to that. I mean, it's now to the point that one of the trash trucks actually backs up the street, and it's probably 3/4 of a mile, and it's, not straight.
Okay.
And we have folks with kids and everything else. I mean, it's just a disaster waiting to happen.
All right. All right,
Okay.
sir.
Questions?
No, sir.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. The other one here, I think that was Mr. Gates. Are you Mr. Gates?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other public participation forums?
No, we do not.
All right. If I can get the applicant to come back forward. All right, you've heard the concerns your neighbors have and everything.
Yes,
Anything
sir,
you'd
I
like to
have.
add to that?
First of all, the easement has been moved to the other side of her house. Whenever I gave her property, well, her husband, I gave them property to be able to build their house to get out of the wetlands. That driveway now is a private driveway. The easement went to the other side of their house. When we went to the lawyers, he had it all changed, number one. All the trash and stuff has been, in fact, in the process of being cleaned up. The RV is gone. There was nobody living in it. That's all lies. Like I said, there's trees. The roundabout has never been used. 18 years I've been there. The trash truck backs up into my driveway to turn around. And all the other stuff about the drugs and all that kind of stuff, she has no idea what she's talking about. Yes, it was raided, but she has no idea about the charges or anything else about it. So it's my property, and the trailers and stuff that they showed you up there, that's from me picking up the trash. It's a legal trailer, and it's getting hauled out of there. The wetlands has been out there, talked to me about it, and as long as I clean it up, they're all good with it.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody want to tackle this? We got a lot going on here. A lot of it is what I would call a civil complaint, right, Mr. Soria? It's nothing to do with the variance itself?
That's correct. You are looking at the property itself and, the proposal, whether or not there are conditions unique to the property that justify meeting at least 3 of the 5 criteria. And in addition, you can make a compatibility determination on the proposed structures. But a lot of, what you heard in testimony is largely personal in nature, and I'm very sympathetic. But this board does not have the authority to specifically address those matters. Those are matters on a personal nature, civil. I may have heard some criminal type allegations, but once again, that is not within your purview or your jurisdiction.
Okay. Ms. Bush.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess this might start out with questions to staff. The applicant indicated that there was some property sales and now there's an easement to access another property. So I'll start out by asking, the cul-de-sac that's presented on the survey, that's before us now, is that what currently stands and is still legally valid for a cul-de-sac and a turnaround for Oak Lane?
I believe that's part of she can ask. But yes, my understanding is that is the easement we are measuring from. The constructive easement that was previously mentioned I think is another easement, and that is a private matter between individual property owners.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that how it's depicted on the site plan is actually what the easement is.
According to the survey that was submitted and that was digitally signed in February of 2026, the survey as it is on the site plan, or the easement, is how it currently stands.
another question. I'm assuming, is this, and I apologize if this wasn't, it's in the staff report and I missed it. Obviously, this is an easement. Is there an HOA that governs this? Who maintains this the road right-of-way?
All it said it was a private easement, but there was no, I didn't look further like into the easement deed or anything to see. I don't believe it's an HOA. It's just the
So that
residents.
it's just privately owned and privately maintained by each individual owner. Okay. I just was curious if there was a conveyance to the homeowner in question that he had to maintain, right, that cul-de-sac and clearance, if that was a part of whatever approval was put in place to allow these private roads to be accessible by the public and by public service. Usually when that's in place, there's something in writing that says that that has to remain open, right?
Right.
So I'm looking for that language because I am struggling with the distance now measured, now knowing that the residents really would like to have that use, right? To use that cul-de-sac. And from what I understand, they have every legal right to do so, right? And that's questioning, right, to all of you, making sure that that's the case. But therein lies that then the 2.5 feet, I think, is a bigger issue of a setback because of the residents. And now hearing of the big trucks that would likely use that if it was available for the community to use.
Right. Like I said, I did not look into the language or the deed of the easement. That is all.
So I can chime in. So I believe this is a private easement. It is not an easement to the general public. So members of the general public do not have the right to traverse this easement, but owners within that community do, and all of their invitees are licensees, such as the post office, your usual government type vehicles, including your trash trucks. Those serve the residents and properties that take access off this easement. So it's limited to those entities who have the right to access that easement, and that goes into that's the private right. So if there is blockage by anyone who lives in that community, it needs to be addressed on a private matter because it's not a public road. The county doesn't have general jurisdiction over that private easement. That's why, what goes in that easement is kind of either criminal or civil in nature. But within your purview is, hey, how close is that structure going to what sounds like a used easement?
Okay. All right. I'm inclined to agree with the staff recommendation because it does not meet 4 of the 5 criteria, and I think they've made a good assessment of that. Ms.
I'm
Craig?
ready to, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I typically look at each case, and I strongly follow staff recommendation when I can, but when there are neighbors who are either in favor of or against certain requests, I put a lot of weight with their requests. And so I think the combination of the staff recommending denial and the feelings of the neighbors, I would be inclined to vote against this.
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Mr. Urson, you have a comment?
I agree with Member Craig as well.
Mr. Costa?
Yeah, I have a statement and a question. So while I sympathize with the neighbors, they really weren't addressing the variances for the structures that we're talking about. They were addressing neighborly issues that have no bearing on this. That was number one. Number two, the question is for staff. So going back to this, I'm showing the pole barn was constructed in 22, and then the other structure was in 24. Were they permitted? Because it doesn't say so that they were or were not on this report.
Correct. No, they are all unpermitted structures.
All unpermitted structures. All right, that's what I needed there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that case number V-26-091, variance to accessory structure requirements on rural agriculture RA zoned property, be denied as they fail to meet 4 of the 5 criteria.
I'll second that.
I got a motion on the floor to deny variances 1, 2, and 3 for variance V-26091. from Ms. Shelley and a second from Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to say that, from my perspective, it's the non-permitted structures that is the issue for me.
Correct.
Okay, Ms. Bush?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm of the mindset of more of the setback of the pole barn structure. I do think that you have some opportunity to move it to a better location to where it won't impact the use of the cul-de-sac for the residents, and it, you probably won't have to ask for such an egregious variance. So I'm going to be in favor of denying this variance at this point. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number Z-26-062, rezoning from the residential planned unit development RPUD zoning classification to the transitional agriculture A4 zoning classification.
Okay, Mr. Jaskula, he's not here. Okay, who has got this case?
I will.
Okay.
So Steve Shams with Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a rezoning for 11.09 acres of a 20.31 acre site. The site is currently zoned with an expired RPUD and resource corridor. Only the RPUD area is being rezoned and is proposed to be transitional agriculture A4. The site had a consistent ag use on it since 1971. In 1993, County Council approved the Bulow Creek Farm RPUD, which formalized the existing agricultural operations as well as 3 farm worker residences. At the time, the surrounding area was zoned A2. So the RPUD was designed to emulate that zoning class. However, between 1992 and 1994, the area was administratively rezoned to Rural Agricultural Estate, RA, so the A2 zoning class is no longer present. Over time, the property fell into disrepair, and code violations for poor unsafe conditions resulted in the demolition of the structures. The property was sold in April 2020, and all the on-site activity ceased. The site no longer has an agricultural exemption. The property was sold to its current owner this year, and they're seeking to establish an apiary for the collection and sale of honey. This is a permitted use in A4. They are not seeking to reestablish any farm worker housing or large-scale permanent commercial structures. A4 allows a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres, though they are not pursuing any type of subdivision at this time. The site is located in a FEMA Special Flood Zone Area, AE, and development within AE is subject to the county's flood management provisions. Environmental permitting did not object to the request, as the only area being affected is the RPUD area. The RC area, once again, is not changing, and all buffers to wetlands will be met. Overall, staff recommends forwarding to County Council with final action of approval, and I'm available for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shams. Ms. Craig, you had a question?
This is for my information only, I suppose, but how does a zoning designation expire?
So planned unit developments are a little bit different. If the property ceases to be used.
What kind of development?
Planned unit development. So that is what was approved in 1993. If that PUD ceases operation for a certain amount of time, it becomes expired.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? He's not present, okay.
Cocky.
Well.
Teasing.
Applicant is Thomas John. Yeah. Well, they gotta have some kind of a zoning. If that one's expired, they gotta have something.
So, in the county, PUD has expired. Your zoning is expired PUD, and you cannot use it for any,
We gotta give them
new
something.
uses. Well,
There you
yes. So yes, but we don't know what that something is going to be until the applicant comes forward and says, here's what I want to do with the property. But at that point in time, the zoning is expired PUD, and there's various policies.
But he's asking for A4
Yes,
is what
yes.
basically what it is. Okay, all right. And we have to, yeah, okay.
And there's no applicant.
No applicant.
I'd make a motion to continue. If
I'll
you're
second
open for
that.
If you're open for that. We good
Was
for
there a
that?
reason for that, though, really? I mean, he's got to have a zoning.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to hear from him before we do any kind of voting. I get it. When
Yeah,
people
if-
don't show up, I'm an automatic no.
I do have issues with what the apiary, because it's right next to an electrical transfer station, and bees and electric magnetic pulses don't mix. So I just want to, understand the business model a little bit more and understand really what the use is before I agree to the zoning. So I'm comfortable with
Okay.
continuing.
I'll entertain a motion
All
if
right.
you want to continue.
I'll make a motion that we continue case Z-26-062 to this October 15th meeting.
Second.
Is it October 15? Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to continue Z-26062 to our October 15th meeting from Mr. Costa, and a second from Mr. Urson, was it?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
One comment.
Go ahead.
I strongly suggest the applicant appear on the 15th.
You might reach out to him and let him know.
Yes, they were notified of the hearing and provided the staff report, and they met public notice, so we will contact them.
Yeah, I'm with Mr. Costa. When applicants don't show up, it shows they don't care. So,
Well, what happens is, in their defense, when they see a recommendation of approval, they pretty much think it's a clear cut.
yeah, but that's assuming.
It's not a slam dunk.
I know. I'm not against what you're saying. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number CPA-26-085, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment from forestry resource, FR, future land use designation to agricultural resource, FLU designation.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Mr. Zuzak, this one's yours.
Good morning, members. CPA 26085 is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment for an approximately 10-acre parcel on Harper Road in the Pearson area. The request is to change the future land use designation from forestry resource to...
Rob, I'm sorry to cut in. Because this does have a companion rezoning
Can you read
case.
them together? Sure.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah,
was
sorry
waiting
about
for that, but, all right, I'll start over.
I'll just read it. And then accompanying case number Z-26-086, a rezoning from the forestry resource FR zoning classification to the prime agriculture A1 zoning classification.
Go ahead, Mr. Zuzak.
Thank you. Good morning, members. CPA 26085 and its companion cases Z26086. CPA 26085 is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment for approximately 10-acre parcel on Harper Road in the Pearson area. The request is to change the future land use designation from forestry resource to agricultural resource. The parcel is southwest of Harper and Pridgeon Roads. The eastern property is A1 zoning, with AR future land use. State-owned conservation lands are located to the north and west, and forestry resource land remains directly to the south. This is a rural transition area, not an urban expansion area. Staff evaluated site characteristics, compatibility, comprehensive plans, consistency, urban sprawl indicators, concurrency, facilities, and property rights. The parcel is undeveloped and substantially wetland constrained. Even so, its size, ownership pattern, adjoining AR/A1 context, and low-density rural settings support AR. The amendment does not require urban utilities or an inefficient extension of services. Approximately 8.21 acres are wetlands. There is no identified floodplain, but that does not remove wetland regulation. Approval would not establish a house location, authorize wetland impacts, approve access, or approve a lot split. Range Safety Zone C and all environmental and developmental requirements remain applicable. Staff finds the amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommends that CPA-26-085 be forwarded to County Council with a recommendation of approval and submitted to the VGMC for certification.
Let's see, the zoning part?
And the zoning portion, Z-26-086. This is the companion case. It's a requested rezone, the same approximately 10-acre parcel from forestry resource to prime agriculture, or A1. The application is stated to be contingent upon, it's obviously contingent upon the companion land use amendment. The stated intent is to align the subject parcel with adjoining A1 land, complete a larger lot combination, then pursue a subdivision of 2 conforming A1 lots for single-family residents on each lot. The combination and subdivision are not part of today's rezoning decision. FR and A1 retain the same 100-foot, 50-foot minimum lot width, 100-foot front yard, 50-foot side yard, and rear yards, and 45-foot maximum building height. The material dimensional changes are a reduction in minimum lot area from 20 acres to 10 acres and an increase in maximum lot coverage from 10% to 35%. Evaluated the 9 criteria in section 72-414E, comprehensive plan consistency, environment, economy, governmental services, changed circumstances, original classification mistakes, use or value, public health, welfare and safety, and property rights. Staff found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the rural agriculture and conservation context. Environmental permitting had no objection, but all future construction, clearing, or alteration was complied with the Land Development Code. The 35% coverage standard is a zoning maximum, not an authorization to clear or fill wetlands. Access, lot geometry, and buildable area remain subject to later review. Staff recommends that Z-26-086 be forwarded to the County Council for final action with recommendation of approval. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zuzak. Any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, is the applicant present? Good morning, sir. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Matthew Dowse with Mark Dowse and Associates. I'm the applicant. I'm also representing family friends. You got John Walker. He's married to Shelby Walker. And you got the father-in-law and mother-in-law right next door. So those are actually technically the applicants, the owners.
Okay.
Staff, we worked with staff. We got creative. We were trying to find a mechanism to take the rear 10 acres to create 2 single-family households on a total of 20 acres, which seems like, hey, you should be able to put 2 houses on 20 acres. And so we talked to staff. They gave a great recommendation of approval. We worked with environmental. My concern was environmental, the main thing. Talking with the environmental department, we agreed typically when you do like a lot subdivision, you have to do like 15% tree preservation area. We agreed, we've already produced a sketch and description to put that whole entire 8.2 acres in the rear property into a tree preservation area. So as when we go forward for like the house permits, lot split, we will have that rear area. So realistically, the only thing that's being developed is the front 10 acres in the future, and that's gonna have 2 houses on it. And it was an old fernery. There's no trees out there. Environmental, we already had wetland, a biologist go out there and verify, and there's no concerns. We also had some discussions, and we thought it might make sense to have recommendations of approval from the neighbor immediately to the south. Sorry for the last minute. I asked the owner if they could go next door. They're friendly with their neighbors, and I do have that letter of support signed if I could give it to somebody. And we have 7 letters.
You said you had 7 letters?
7 for you guys, if you guys wanted to look at them. But it's only one property owner.
Okay.
Only one the only other property owner is I think Lake George Wildlife Management Area. We didn't reach out to you guys. Yeah, state of Florida. Everyone's allowed to go out there. So, but here I'm here to answer any questions. If you have any questions for the landowners, a little history. Their family's actually a Greenland fernery. They've been in Pearson for over 100 years. I'm a little upset. He moved, he lived he's a good friend, lived beachside in Ormond, and now he lives out here. I see why he did that. He's building his family. They love the woods. They love 10 acres. So it's an amazing thing. Their vision is to move out there and have their father and mother-in-law build a house right next door so they could raise the kids next to them. So it's a win-win for everybody there.
All right. Mr. Costa, you had a comment or a
Yeah,
question?
I was just going to say congratulations.
Yeah.
You're newborn. You look a little tired, by the way.
I actually am leaving right here to go get my son circumcised. So my wife is, I'm on the clock. I got to be there at 1 o'clock. So.
That's a lot of information.
Momentous day.
Ms. Craig, you had a comment or a question?
I have a question about the increase in maximum lot coverage from 10% to 35%. That seems like a lot of coverage for just a single-family residence on 10 acres.
Oh, that's just the zoning difference in, the zoning standard. That's just what A1 allows. But the rear property that is actually being rezoned and the comp plan being changed, just 8.2 acres is already being preserved in a tree preservation area. So that kind of answers that question. The front 10 acres that we're not asking anything to do, that's already A1 and already meets all, we're not asking for anything different for that.
That's just what the A1 allows.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, it's not what they're going to do. It's just what it allows.
We're trying to figure out a mechanism. We worked with staff and we also said, hey, what about a different A zoning for the front 10 acres? And then we wouldn't even be here and just change that and say maybe 1 per 5 acres and get 2 lots on there. But nothing's consistent and we didn't want to start something different there, so.
Okay.
This is great.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, do we have any public participation forms for this case?
We do not.
All right, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion or a motion. We'll take the CPA first.
Great, make the motion. I move that we approve CPA-26-085.
Second.
I got one from Ms. Craig.
I do, okay.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ms. Shelley, but it said you said approve, we're going to forward the application to recommendation of approval, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I got a motion on the floor to find the future land use amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and forward the application case number CPA 26085 to the county council with a recommendation of approval and to submit to the Volusia Growth Management Commission for certification. And a second from Mr. Urson, was it?
No, Ms.
Oh, Ms. Craig. Okay, any discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next case will be the Z26086. I'll entertain a motion on that.
I move that Z26086 application be approved.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor for Z26086 that forward the rezoning application case number Z26086 to the county council for final action with recommendation of approval from Ms. Shelley and a second from Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by, oh, wait a minute, Ms. Bush.
Well, I just wanted to say that I live on a family compound and it's like the greatest thing ever. We just did it a few years ago, so it's amazing. You'll enjoy it. So
Ditto, I'm the same way.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Well, folks, that's it. We did it before noon. All right. All right. That's it for the new business. Do we have any other public items?
No, sir.
Do we have any staff items?
No, sir.
Staff comments?
None today.
Commission comments?
Yes, question for staff.
Costa.
Can you enlighten me as to what happened at the council meeting on Tuesday regarding data centers, please?
Sure. So we presented, because we were directed by council, to present the first reading of a 6-month moratorium on data centers. And in lieu of continuing with the moratorium process, council decided instead to direct staff to start the to change the land development code to prohibit data centers, large-scale data centers specifically, instead of going through the moratorium process. So what that does a few things. One, staff is now working on a different type of ordinance. Instead of a moratorium, we are changing the code to basically prohibit these large-scale data centers everywhere in Volusia County. That kind of restarts the process. So first step will be the PLDRC to look at that code. What it does is it also kicks in what's called the zoning in progress doctrine, or there's another term for it, pending ordinance doctrine. So in the meantime, while we are working on that ordinance, that doctrine kicks in, and we will not accept any applications or changes on any large-scale data centers while we are in the process of changing the code.
All right, and so my question is, do we have any existing data centers in the county?
We do have data centers. They are not large scale.
Large scale, okay.
Right.
And do we have any applications currently in the pipeline for large scale?
We do not.
So this is just a proactive,
Yes.
knee-jerk reaction in my opinion. That's just an opinion, and so I'll withdraw that. So how does this put us at odds with the state?
Not necessarily. The state has, SB 484, and this goes back to, remember, SB 180 basically said, hey, your land development codes and your comprehensive plans are locked in place for October 1st, 2027 or forever, depending upon whether or not we get the H word. But they passed the bill effective July 1st of this year that says, for large load customers and large scale data centers, so those are data centers of 50 megawatts or more over, averaged over a period of time, local governments retain your comprehensive plan and land development code jurisdiction. They put in permitting processes for permitting at the state level in terms of if a local government allows these things, you can't put, electric utilities can't put the costs on their customers, and they will take a very hard look at the water demand. But in SB 484, especially when they talk about water demand, they recognize, potentially that local governments can prohibit these things in their jurisdictions. The issue that we are having to overcome is we're a very large county, so we need to basically tailor a prohibition to Volusia County. Complete jurisdictional prohibitions, usually they have to meet a nuisance criteria. Either they are a nuisance per se, so those are your traditional, gambling houses, brothels, houses of disrepute. Like, they are not compatible in any zoning district. But once you go outside of that, you need to basically look at, is that use considered a nuisance or compatible in any single zoning district within Volusia County. And so that's where we're kind of headed towards, of making that legislative record to show that wherever you're going to put a data center, you are going to be incompatible with the goals, objectives, and policies of the county. You could be a nuisance, and essentially it's not like you can't operate here without severely negatively affecting the quality of life of the citizens of Volusia County.
So it's an all-out ban?
Yes. For large-scale data centers.
Until somebody challenges it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Craig, you had a comment?
I have a question for Mr. Soria about the size of it. What is the size of the existing data centers that we have, and how was the 50 kilowatt?
50. So the size of existing data centers, they range from, we got a data center like in our IT department. A lot of offices have data centers that fit in a room. Some of the data centers that you wouldn't know are data centers, they are the size of an office building. I think there is one in Maitland. So, and
Eatonville. It's the big building off
yes,
I-4.
the one that looks kind of nice. Architecturally, it looks pretty nice. There's a data center in there. So those are what we call like co-location data centers. Their electricity demand is less than 50 megawatts, and their water demand, they're probably using some other like closed loop system. The ones that everyone is concerned about are your campus-wide or large-scale data centers. Those take significant acreage of land, probably on the order of like 100 acres minimum. And their water usage, if they're using evaporative cooling, is basically the size of a town. And the electricity demand is the size of a town. Here in Volusia County, we do not have sufficient land that would kind of accommodate a large-scale data center that is zoned appropriately. The closest we have is the I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, and the largest parcel we have is 40 acres, most of which is wet. So that's not, so realistically, is like a campus-sized data center, can they just show up by right? Probably not. But, you know, an applicant does have the opportunity to request a comprehensive plan, opportunity to request a rezoning to, you know, a heavy industrial use. So that's kind of why council directed us, you know, based on looking at Volusia County to prohibit data centers on a unincorporated county-wide basis, so that existing land uses and future land uses or future rezonings, you know, you cannot allow large-scale data center. If you do, you're going to have to run the legislative gamut and actually change the code.
Thank you. I'm just struggling with getting my head wrapped around what 50 megawatts is. You know.
It's a lot. 50 megawatts is the draw of a small town, like something like 3,000 households.
So someone could come in and request a 49 megawatt data center.
Yeah, average over a period of time, but yes. So the carve out or exception to SB 180 that grants local governments to act only applies to large load customers, and those are defined in the statute of users that draw 50 megawatts or more, averaged over, you know, some period of time.
There is a trend for some of these larger facilities to be self-sustainable, though, and they're providing their own power source, and they're looking at ways of taking their water consumption down. And if that was to be the case, then that rule that you were saying would not apply to them. Is that correct? So
they still demand 50 megawatts or more. Where they get the power from is, you know, it could be private, in which case they would have to construct inside a power plant and go through our power plant citation provisions. Like, it doesn't matter what the source is when you are,
whether they
yeah,
provide
because
their-
it's a category of, is this a data center? Is the data center drawing 50 megawatts or more, or demanding 50 megawatts or more of power? In which case, if they meet that criteria, they fall under our use categories. We don't control the electrical grid, so if whether or not they draw from Duke or FPL or manage to, you know, construct their own power plant, they still are under a category of large-scale data center and subject to our zoning and land use.
Okay. Ms. Craig?
Also, I'm curious about the wastewater that's used for cooling.
Yes.
Is that water contaminated? Is it potable? What
Well,
is-
that's kind of industrial wastewater. It was not potable. If you have to cool something with water, usually you have to have some kind of antifreeze, some kind of anticoagulant, antibacterial. There's usually some kind of like glycanol in it. Don't drink that. So what the cleaning process is for that kind of industrial uses, you know, usually they have their own system, or they have to send it to a wastewater plant. In which case, you know, there's some, you can require, if you do approve these things, that they are required to use reclaimed water, which is non-potable to begin with, and you know, that is one of the traditional uses of beneficial use of reclaimed water is to use it for non-potable purposes, so irrigation or, you know, industrial cooling. but in which case they have to deal with essentially the wastewater, which is non-potable, and to get it to a potable level, I don't know what that entails, probably some sort of expensive reverse osmosis.
Okay, anyone else? I got a quick question. It's a political season and you hear a lot about growth. Can you explain the statutes that we are limited by when we have to look at growth in this county? I know we're pretty much limited. And also, what percentage of the growth is being done by the county and by cities compared to the cities? I think we're getting a pretty bad
For that answer, I'll defer to
reputation for
Stephen,
that.
because
I mean, what statutes are we required to go by through the state to deny or approve?
Sure,
Because
so-
we're pretty limited in what we can deny because of some of the state statutes.
So when you're talking about growth, we'll start off with your comprehensive plan, which is your constitution of growth. So your comprehensive plan sets your theoretical maximum or your future outlook. It is every single local government has to have a comprehensive plan, and they have to have they have to do the analysis of what their population estimates are over a period of time, 5, 10, 20 years, and, supply adequate land use for that estimated population, which has like a residential component. And that is the fundamental policy decision. Based on your projected growth pattern and your, where do you want to grow, how dense, how fast? Right, so those, whenever you make a comprehensive plan amendment, those are basically the questions that you're answering. This piece of land is being given a theoretical maximum density or intensity, and is that appropriate for the growth rate that unincorporated Volusia County is expecting? So that is a whole statutory process, which you've gone through it. It's a fundamental legislative decision of, should you approve the maximum theoretical impact of this application? You have a lot of discretion in making that type of determination. It's a pretty low bar in terms of approving or denying. Really hard to attack a fundamental decision like that. Now, limitations on growth. The Florida legislature this year has expanded the agricultural enclave provision. Volusia County, we're, that awkward halfway rural, halfway urban type things. And an agricultural enclave is it's essentially the legislature putting their thumb on the scale of that fundamental discretionary decision. And it says, okay, if you have an area that is an agricultural land use and it's surrounded by 75% or more on its boundaries by existing or technically proposed urban development, then it goes through a process of certifying whether or not it is an enclave. And if it meets the criterion definition of an enclave, what it does is it drags the adjacent land use over that agricultural enclave and says, I get to develop in the same way as this adjacent property. So that's a fundamental limitation on the discretion that is granted to you by your comprehensive plan. So that's one of the things. A lot of the complaints you get is in terms of traffic. So prior to 2011, you had the Growth Management Act, which, that severely limited and constrained growth because it tied it to what's called concurrency. So, what is concurrency? Concurrency is the infrastructure, as in roads, water, sewer, schools, must actually be in place prior to development. That changed. And, especially for schools and roads, which are most of the things people complain about, they no longer have to be in place. What it did is it changed it to what's called a proportionate fair share or a pay-and-go system. And it says, okay, you can't stop the development if they say, I will pay my fair share of the necessary infrastructure to meet the level of service. So whatever impact they have on the school, whatever impact they have on the roads, that is quantified to a dollar amount. And they pay the dollar amount, and then, it is up to the local government with jurisdiction over that infrastructure. For county roads, it's the county, to take that money and basically construct the infrastructure to meet the approved level of service. Everything else, such as water and sewer, potable water, those are still what we call hard concurrency. If you don't have water, you can't develop. If you don't have sewer, you can't develop. If you don't have stormwater, you can't develop. So, those are still your hard concurrencies. But the ones that everyone kind of feels, the, roads and schools, those are what we call like soft concurrency or proportionate fair share anymore. So that's a fundamental limitation on the, I guess, the authority of local governments to kind of limit growth. So we can do like a further presentation on this. Like, this is just kind of all historical stuff in my head.
No, I understand, but I think we get a lot of times, because if they meet all the criteria of our comprehensive plan, because of the state rules, it's pretty hard to turn them down. Is that correct?
Yes. So what you're talking about is when you get to the quasi-judicial. Remember, like every single time I say in a quasi-judicial matter, you're acting more like a court, and so you are not making policy. So your discretion is vastly curtailed. So you are looking at, based on the rules and regulations that were set up, does the application meet all that criteria? Is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? Is it consistent with the land development code? And if so, the burden shifts and it says, okay, local government, you must approve unless, keeping the zoning meets a valid public purpose. I forget what the test is, but it's, one of those things are, is it spot zoning? Is it fundamentally incompatible with the neighborhood? Those are kind of like the you have to drill down and actually look what's on the ground. And that's why that decision is, you have to make that decision every single time you do a rezoning analysis.
And you can't just arbitrarily turn it down without going through, I think a new bill just came through with the mediation, is that correct?
Yes, so there's a new bill, I forgot about this one. So this only pertains to rezonings, straight rezonings. So if you are rezoning to a residential zoning category that's not specialized at all, you cannot deny it just based on statements of incompatibility. Usually that incompatibility is house or lot sizes. The legislature has basically stated, hey, residential development is fundamentally compatible with other residential development. And when you are reviewing a straight rezoning, you cannot say something is incompatible just because of house sizes, just because of housing type, just because of housing density. So it's limiting your consideration of what you can deem to be compatible or incompatible.
Right, because when I was here previously, you could do that on compatibility, but you can't do that anymore. It has to go through a mediation process.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. I just think people are getting a lot of bad, what do you want to call, a bad reputation for undue things that are beyond their control. And that's more of a political statement than anything else. So, yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that a development could agree to pay a certain portion of what was required. At what point is that quantification done? Who decides it? I mean, and when I say at what point is it done? During the progress of a development?
Sure.
Is it before they begin, or is it when they've gotten started?
It's after they've received their entitlements. So after they've received their rezoning, and it is prior to construction plan approval. Here in the county, it's prior to PPL. That's preliminary plat. So before you get to actually go and construct the thing you're going to construct, you need to pay the appropriate proportionate fair share for roads or for
Upfront?
schools. It could be upfront. Usually, so a lot of your proportionate fair share, some people look at it as a prepayment of impact fees. So it is upfront. It's payment prior to the impact being felt. So say a development, a retail development of fast food restaurant, it's usually like $1 million of proportionate fair share money. Instead of paying it at the time of CO or certificate of occupancy, which is, everything is constructed, they're just waiting to turn the lights on, they pay it at the time of construction plan approval before, one shovel hits the dirt. So there's that kind of like year you get to go ahead and receive the money, and if you have a plan in place to use that money towards, a more escalated time frame of infrastructure development.
All right, Ms. Bush, you had a comment.
Yeah, so on that note, one thing you didn't mention was the Live Local Act and that impact that it has. So I do think for those that are not aware, Live Local basically just says that in certain instances, if you have a zoning next door, you can basically adopt that zoning, essentially if it's a higher density. And that was kind of pushed in place more for affordable housing, right? That push. One of the arguments that I usually make against that is that you don't have the ancillary services. So not arguing on the density of the housing, right, but arguing on the other services that are necessary, like transportation, like health services, natural environment, those types of things. But I did want to mention a comment on your discussion. I recognize politics. It's silly season, right? I say this to say that, I was a Seminole County resident and was my mentor was Bob Delary for a long time, who championed the rural growth boundary in Seminole County and then defended it, right? Again, in Lake County, same thing, Sean Parks, they're doing really great things, trying to keep growth to where the cities and where the unincorporated growth occurs by some policy that Volusia County has every ability to do. It's just that certain people that sit up on the dais and have those discretionary options, they don't want to do that. And I think that there are policies and there are things that we can do, even without, SB 180, that we should be considering, especially to protect our natural environment and the limited resources that we have left. So personally, there are absolutely lots of things that you can do. And from a relationship standpoint, I know a lot of development gets annexed and built into the cities, but those are relationships that our county should be having with our cities and having those conversations. So I disagree that there's nothing that can be done once that property is annexed. I think that that's still a conversation to be had. We develop regionally. We have to think about these types of things regionally, and we've got to be able to go across jurisdictions and talk with people about what growth should look like, regardless of, who owns that piece of property or the jurisdictional boundaries. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that issue. But I did want to bring up the Live Local Act because that has a huge impact into growth. And again, that's not something that the people on this dais now and the councilmen have that ability to change.
In fact, you can't see it. There's one of the things about the Live Local Act is it hijacks your industrial and commercial development and says this is now the highest density you have in your jurisdiction for multifamily use. So there's that. In the county, that's 30 dwelling units per acre, because we have our Sunrail Activity Center is, that is the area that is geared towards supporting the Sunrail, and that's the area by policy where you want high residential density to support that particular use. So, they can take that density, put it on any industrial or commercial property and develop an affordable housing multifamily product.
And I never said there wasn't anything they could do. I said there was limitations on what they could do, mandated by the state. So any other commission comments? Press and citizen comments.
Chair Mills, you had a second question about the percentages between the county and the city.
Yes.
I have that information.
Go ahead.
I can provide it to the group. So this was part of another project. I'll give a few qualifiers to the information ahead of time. It looked at residential developments of 100 units or greater, because that is the threshold for a traffic impact analysis, where those proportionate fair share amounts are usually determined. And it looked at between 2022 and October 2025, which is when I did this analysis, looking at all the cities through all their boards, or their city boards and rezonings, plats, just looking at what they've done. The cities are sitting at around 40,000 units that is in progress, either through the entitlement phase or through the platting phase. And the county is at about 1,800, so that's about 4.5%. So most of the development is occurring in the cities.
At the city level?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is the point I was getting at. You know, catching a lot of flack for the growth, but they need to be at their city meetings. And, but anyway, like I said, it's highly political. Ms. Bush?
How many of those were annexed?
I don't have that exact number. We did look at annexations in a separate exercise, but they're not looking at the same thing.
Because I would be, you're going to go through entitlement in that development in the city, because you're likely going to get a better density and better utilities and things like that anyway. So likely, if you're going to be doing any type of PUD or any type of development, you're likely going to annex first before you do any of the building. So that's why I'm curious as to that same time frame, how many of those projects were annexations?
Thinking of the county projects that have gone through, a few have.
No, I was speaking to the city projects, so that they annexed county land and then
Okay.
developed it as residential in the city. That's my question. Because
Okay,
I
you
think,
have to cross-check
Yeah.
annexations with projects, but we
Yeah.
haven't done that exercise
okay.
yet.
I think that would be fruitful just to understand, because the comment that's circulating is that all the development is happening in cities, but the point is that the property is being annexed from the county into the city. And so I think that additional analysis would be necessary in order to prove whatever point we're trying to prove.
Okay, any other commission comments? All right, any press and citizen comments? This meeting's adjourned. I think we got some,
No, thank you. Yeah, I know, yeah. We're granting, so we're facilitating. Doesn't matter if it's in black.
There is some logic. Yeah, there is some logic. Your mine's never showed up yet.
Appreciate it.
See you, kiddo.
See ya.
Bye.
I don't know. We'll go and look at the bylaws and see if there's anything in there. I would say it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden, he has a surprise fruit.
Hey, hey. For the lottery, right? But normally this water is very. Yeah, we dug it out, it was side of the canal, right? So it's kind of. Oh, yeah, but it's just dripping here and over. You did go. Right. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. And I'll see you next weekend, bright and early in January. I'm a little concerned. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it specifically, because of your role in Volusia County